The Magicians podcast is brought to you in proud association with the Magic Circle, Alakazam Magic and Gigio.
6 very different magicians, all with one thing in common, the 2018 Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Welcome to a very special episode of the Magicians podcast.
Had a dream, I had it made it. Now there's nothing dragging down on me, yeah. 'Cause the dog push it all out the way. Destined to break in, I found my way, yeah. Now I ain't nobody gonna take it. 'Cause the dog push them all out the way.
I am your host, Richard Young. Welcome to the show and thank you very much for pressing the download button. Where has this episode out of the blue come from, I hear you ask? Well, allow me to explain. A few weeks ago, I was at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I was having a great time seeing lots of shows, and it suddenly occurred to me there were 6 magicians performing up there, all of which appeared on this podcast series when it was around a few years ago. And I thought it would be amazing just to have a catch up with them, see how they've been since they were on the show, and also find out how their fringe has gone. So I booked another flight, and tomorrow I'm going back to the festival to interview 6 fantastic magicians, all of which I know that you know. So over the next few hours you're going to hear from, in no particular order, Ben Hart, Pete Firman, Ben Hanlin, John Lenahan, Harry Cruz and Piff The Magic Dragon. It's going to be great fun. But before I get on the plane tomorrow to go and interview them, I thought it might be a good idea to talk to an expert on the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, someone who has been up there for many years, both as a performer and as a spectator. This year he's just been a spectator, but he's already been up there just like I have. So I decided to have a quick chat with him and record it for you so we can all get excited about the next few hours that are ahead. So here he is, a great friend of mine, Mr. Alan Hudson. Alan Hudson, it is great to have you back on the Magicians podcast. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I've not heard from you for like 2 years when you did the Darren Brown podcast. What you been up to?
What are you talking about? I was at your wedding.
Oh yeah,
I was at your wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know? Thanks for coming on at short notice. I thought this was an interesting idea to speak to another magician who's not at the Fringe, but who has been at the Fringe multiple times. And I know you love it as a fan as well. You've already been up there this year and seen some of the shows for some of the magicians that I'm going to meet. How was it up there this year?
It was great, and I'm so glad the podcast is back because we've missed it. It's
just a one-off, mate.
What?
It's just a one-off. Just a one-off.
I thought this is it. I thought back for good.
Well, we'll see how it goes, but I think this is a one-off, to be honest. So.
See, Stephen Williams would have laughed twice by now.
It took literally 30 seconds for you to drop in my competition here, haven't you? Unbelievable. You're just trying to stir the pot. So
right, Fringe.
Yes, the Fringe. Tell me all about the 2018 Fringe from your perspective. You've been up. Was it last week you went up?
Yeah, last week. And to be honest, I didn't watch many magic shows this year. So, but the Fringe is a brilliant place. And for magicians now, there was about 80 magic shows or something. It's ridiculous. Everywhere. Magicians do seem to be very good at putting their posters up as well. So everywhere you go, you see, mind readers and sort of little ensemble magic shows and double acts that I've never heard of. Amazing.
And I've got to just go straight to for me, what was the most amazing thing I saw at the Fringe? Have you seen Charlie Caper's robot show?
Yeah, saw the robots. Be honest, didn't have a great day when we saw it because the robots didn't work.
So let me just bring the audience into the loop here. So Charlie Caper, amazing magician, right? No arguments, absolutely incredible. Yeah. Is it Sweden's Got Talent that he won? Is that right?
Yeah, Sweden's Got Talent, brilliant.
He has come up with this amazing magic show. It's a free show, and it has 14 robots in the show. And when I went in and saw it, basically when the audience walked in, he was on the floor with a robot in pieces, and basically said, "I'll be with you in a minute," to the audience. We all thought it was part of the show. 10 minutes later, he was still fixing one of these robots. One of the most ambitious, incredible and amazing free shows I've ever seen. What was your experience when you saw it?
Yeah, he did the same. He was on the show, on the floor, doing the sort of preamble, saying set 1, 2, receive, over. And we thought, oh, this is quite an interesting sort of preamble to the show. And turns out that was the show. So that was it. That was most of it. And You know, I mean, it is amazing what he's doing, and what is even more incredible is it all fits. It's quite a big thing, and it all fits in 2 Rimowa suitcases. And they're not cheap, they're about £800 each.
They are expensive. And so basically what he says is that this is probably the most expensive free show that's ever happened, because these robots have cost an absolute fortune. And it's an amazing show, actually, the idea he's got, isn't it? Like, there is a message to the show, but it's just at this amazing stage where the technology is kind of giving him a lot of trouble. So from that point of view, it's the perfect fringe show, really, because it's genius, but also it's going through that sort of early transitional phase. Did everything work when you saw it?
No. So, I don't know. Lots went wrong, but and he was a bit crushed afterwards. But you know what? It's at least he's trying something different, and that is the whole point of the fringe, isn't it?
It's exactly the point.
Not just go with, it's too easy, isn't it, to be like a close-up magician and just go from wedding to corporate gig and do your ambitious card to wallet, omni deck, ring flight, brainwave deck, extreme burn, and think you're the dog's bollocks. But to actually put a fringe show on is really hard, and you've got to go through the preview shows, you've got to get the publicity together, you've got to get a room, you've got to do all of those things, you've got to find accommodation when you're up there and do your show all the time and publicise it. It's really difficult. So even though he didn't have the best day, much respect to Charlie Caper.
Oh, so much respect and love. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Just to see something so ambitious and so sort of different, and I thought it was honestly one of the most wonderful things I've ever seen. Just to see someone trying something so new and to see it at such an early stage. And I guarantee, because he's so clever, that a year or so from now, maybe not even that long, it will be an amazing thing all round. What else did you see up there?
What else? I saw Ben Hart's show, full of great tricks, and I'll tell you one that I really, really loved was Harry de Cruz, our friend.
Yes.
Harry de Cruz. And I went in with, I'll be honest, very, very low expectation.
Well, that's fair enough, right? First year at the Fringe, everyone's first year, you really just want to get through it, don't you?
Yeah, but not even a first show. Like, he's never really been on stage before.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, he spends most of his time hiding in a table, doesn't he, and passing stuff to Dynamo. That's what he does.
I think so. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So, yeah, very, very low expectation. And that's not being rude. Just going, if you've never been on stage before, it takes a long time to get good. And annoyingly, he was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Not just for a first show, that's quite sort of almost rude to say. For a first show, it was good. For a show, it was really good. It was warm, it was funny, it was different. Yeah, very good. You're going to talk to him, right?
Yeah, I'm going to talk to him on this a little bit later on. And I've already seen the show, and I'm going to see it again this week as well when I head up to do these interviews that this is all about. And I do know, because he's been working very closely with Edward Hilsom, who's also a part of the creative process, that the show has been changing every single day. And they've been literally, so I can't wait to see it again sort of 2 weeks after I first saw it. But I was so impressed. It was amazing. You know, he used to move stuff around for Young and Strange, a long time ago. He used to be bringing our stuff on the stage.
I know, and he used to do that for me as well. In fact, he once saw a preview of my Edinburgh show, and I had 4 people in the audience. And he was the tech for it, and he witnessed this at the end. That at the end of the preview show, I said to everybody, "Thanks for staying. I'm gonna buy you all a drink." Right? and 2 of them went, "No, all right," and left.
Oh, hey, critically, how much did you pay to Cruz back in the day?
I think I paid him £20 for that.
You're kidding. We used to pay him 100. You were getting him for £20.
Yeah, £20. He didn't do anything.
Unbelievable.
Mind you, he's getting lots of £20 in that bucket now. Christ alive.
I'd say he really is, isn't he? And yeah, it's a really interesting show. He's kind of gone down the road of not being a magician, kind of a bit like Darren and James Friedman did a couple of years ago. Really interesting. And there's a narrative and some brilliant tricks in it as well. So yeah,
I hope he does it in London or something, or maybe even, I don't know, Blackpool or one of those things where somebody, where other people can see it. I think magicians would, even though there's not a lot of magic in it, I think magicians would really like it.
Good. Hudson, tell us, for people who listen to this and maybe haven't been to the Fringe, kind of a bit about the broader spectrum. Like, there's the free shows and there's also the paid shows, and now there's these shows where you can pay and it be free. And there's sort of some kudos for certain venues and things like that. Could you give a kind of sort of broad overview of what the Edinburgh Fringe is really from, the talent side of things?
Yeah, so the Fringe started years ago because it was the Edinburgh Festival, and then what happened was a bunch of comedians and other shows kind of got on board and thought, there's a lot of people go to Edinburgh, we'll put on our own little shows and we might get some people from that to come and see us. And then it started off with 20 or 30 comedians or something, and then it just grew and grew and grew, and now there's 3,500 shows. And then there's kind of a famous big four venues, which are Assembly, Gilded Balloon, Pleasance and Underbelly, and they're the big ones. And they ran the roost for a while until the PBH's Free Fringe came along, which meant that lots of other venues could open up to magicians and comedians and performers that could just go and do their show, and then they hold a bucket out at the end, which sounds a bit like busking, but it's slightly different to that, because at least people are going to see the show in the first place, and they're sat down and they're in a room, and there's no other outside distractions. And
these are rooms with stages and lights and microphones.
Yeah, and a microphone,
like
and not always the best conditions, but at least you're inside, and people know that they're going to see a show and what show they're going to see as well. And then there's a sort of crossover, a hybrid, if you like, of things, which is, as you say, you can kind of buy a ticket or go and see it for free. And that's a good idea as well, because for the performer, at least he knows that he's got, maybe 50 people turning up, and then he might get another 50 on the door. And then the only confusion comes is when they ask for money at the end. Some people have bought a ticket and some people haven't. And so you have to kind of walk past the person if you've bought a ticket and just sort of show in your hand that you've got the ticket, so you don't feel bad for not putting money in. I always feel a bit awkward. Yeah,
we had this for one show we went to see. We bought a ticket and then got in, and then they asked for donations as well, and it was a bit like, oh, okay. And we kind of felt obliged to put more money in the bucket.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I had that as well for something, and so but I just kind of held the tickets in my hand and said to the guy, "Oh, I really enjoyed it," but just made sure that you could see the fact that I'd already bought a ticket. Yeah.
You've done the Fringe 3 times, is that right?
I did it 4 times actually. I did it in 2008. Magic to Get Girls By with Kevin McMahon.
I heard on another podcast recently that's where Kevin met his wife.
Yeah, I mean the show was called Magic to Get Girls By. That worked, didn't it?
Literally worked. What a hero! Amazing.
Yeah, she came in to see the show, and he got lucky, and I didn't.
Yeah. Well, you met Kat a few years later, so it's all fine, isn't it?
It all worked out in the end.
And then what other shows did you do?
So that was a sort of double hander, and we did that for about 9 or 10 nights, and that was good fun. And then in 2012, I did my own show, which was called Alan Hudson's Not So Secret World of Magic. And then the next year, I did my experimental show, the superhero show. I can't remember, a magician or superhero. And then the next year it was Trick Teaser.
I remember. Yes.
And really good fun. The first 2 years I was at Just the Tonic, which is quite a good venue, and excellent venue. If they are listening to this, they won't listen to this. It's an okay venue. And then I was at the Gilded Balloon, which is a really good venue, and then I didn't go again because
why was that?
It's too hard.
Really?
It's too difficult. I lost loads of money. So I lost thousands of pounds every time I did it. So even though it was really good fun and I got new material, I did for the first show and the last show. I couldn't use anything from the superhero show. But do you know what? I lost thousands of pounds every time, and I just thought, how many times can I go and do this? So this is what I'd like you to ask people. How much money are they losing?
I'm going to ask that. And also, this is what the reason when I'm making this podcast, I'll come back, it's just actually when I went back up there, I just remember it all came back, the effort just to get up there. And I sent Harry a message the night before his first show, just saying, just to get to the point that your first Edinburgh show is tomorrow is an enormous achievement. It really, really is, isn't it? Because of the work you have to go through, all the props you have to buy. Like you said, you have to sort of flat out, get yourself up there, figure out how you're going to get back. You have to turn down loads of work while you're away. And so that's why I want to talk to all these people, because, you know, Pete Firman, for example, this is like his 11th one. And then we've got Harry doing
He is a
his first
machine,
one,
isn't he? An absolute machine. How on earth can he come up with an hour's new material every year? That is phenomenal.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Phenomenal.
And this is what I thought, this was a really special year, because we've got, you know, Pete back doing his 11th year. We've got Harry doing his first, and we've got Ben Hart doing something really, really interesting. Ben Hanlin doing a really original show, 50 tricks in like an hour. And then also we've got Piff over here. Why? I don't know, because he's in Vegas now. We've got John Lenahan doing a show with his niece. I think there's a lot of questions to ask, and so that's what this podcast's all about. I'm going to head off now and go and speak to all these people, but I wanted to ask you before you go, what questions do you think I should ask all of them? So every single one of them, I'll ask the same few questions at the end. What do you think?
Right, okay, so first of all, I mean, they won't answer this, will they? But I want to know how much money they're losing, or how much money are they earning?
Or at least get out of them, are they losing or making money?
Yeah,
right? I'll try and get one of those.
I think that's the question that everybody wants to know, and but no one's going to answer that. And what else? Why are they doing it? That's the other real thing. Because, you know, to do the Fringe, you've really got to have a reason. Is it to get new material? Is it to get noticed? Is it to force you into working on a new routine? Is it to tour the show afterwards? And is it, you know, the first run? Sometimes people tour it for a year. So I want to know why. What is their reason for doing the show for Ed Fringe? Because everyone's got different reasons.
Listen, this has been great. Great to speak to you again. I'm going to get on the plane and go to Edinburgh and talk to all these magicians.
Can't wait to listen. All right, cheers.
Had a dream, I had it made it. Now there's nothing dragging down me.
So I am now here in Edinburgh, so let's start by having a chat/row with Piff The Magic Dragon.
I found my way, yeah. Now I ain't nobody gonna take, yeah. 'Cause I
He looks ill.
I look ill. Why do I look ill? That's a nasty thing to
You've
say.
got the same sleep bags as Alex. You both have these dark circles around your eyes.
So that, in theory, makes me look ill.
Yeah.
Right, thanks. Well, that's a nice start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, it's
I'm
good.
just saying you look.
I was going to start by saying it's good to see you again, but after that...
Yeah, well, no, you already started by bringing me a bottle of Greg's Still Natural Water.
Look, I didn't want you to say that, because I'm not going to take every guest a bottle of water, right? So I brought you one, because I was getting one for myself.
Well, you went into Greg's.
You've got the best apartment in Edinburgh. Greg's is literally 2 doors
You went
away.
to Greg's and you said, "Can I have 2 bottles of water?" That's all you had?
Well, no, no.
No.
Obviously not.
What else did you get from Greg's?
Have you had the cheese, bean and
Oh, God.
sausage melt? Have you had one of those?
I've had... No, even separately those ingredients are not the best.
It's a pastry. It's really, really nice. When we had some American friends over earlier this year, they loved Greg's. That was the highlight of their trip, they said.
Where were they from in America?
All over. Yeah, one
All over?
One was from Kentucky,
Yeah,
so he knows about food.
yeah.
And then there was some from LA, and they loved Greg's.
You know, Kentucky Fried Chicken is much nicer here than it is in America.
Yeah, but they do mashed potato in America, don't they?
Yeah, well, I don't like mashed potato.
Well, again, another reason why we don't get on very well. Welcome to the Magicians Podcast, Piff. Welcome back, anyway, to
It
it.
was a pleasure.
And thanks for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome.
Take some time out of your very busy schedule. So, want to
I'm
start?
doing this as a favour.
What? Why is it a favour?
Not to you,
Oh, to who?
to Alex.
Oh,
Alex asked me, Alex, the guy who employs you and
yeah,
is responsible for your financial well-being.
yeah.
Alex, yeah. He said, "Would I mind?" And I said, "As a favour to you, no."
He didn't ask for a favour, did he? He just asked.
He said, "Would you mind?" That's
you,
favour
you
implied.
turned it into a favour.
Would you mind? Nothing good ever starts like that. Would you mind if I gave you $1,000? No, I wouldn't mind. Nobody ever asked you that. Would you mind if you cleaned up your dog's shit from the drive? That's the way that "Would you mind"
Is
begins.
that still the original dog?
Yes, it's still the original dog.
Why is it smaller than it used to be?
Well, everything, they go to America and they get healthy, don't they?
Right, is that what's happened?
It's sort of LA living.
So, I tried to...
What do you want?
I tried to work this out myself, how many times you've done Edinburgh. To be honest, it's quite difficult because you did Free Fringe...
I think it's 9.
This is your 9th Edinburgh.
No. Yeah. No. This is my... What? It's my 9th year... No, it's 9 years ago since I started doing it, which means it's 10.
Right.
But I missed a year, so it's 9.
Is that the one on your poster that says it wasn't sold out that year? It just looks like one year you had a bad year. It's got sold out 2014, sold out 2015, nothing.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Yeah, but it doesn't read like that. It just reads like that year's show wasn't very good.
I don't really give a shit.
Fair enough.
The thing is that Edinburgh is all about, you've got to try and prove, and you've got to, fingers crossed, hopefully somebody comes to the show and gives you a big break. What's the best that can happen to me? Somebody could come to me and they could say, Piff The Magic Dragon, we want to give you your own show in Las Vegas. And I'd be like, it already happened, you're too late.
You're alright. No,
that's why we don't have that laurel. I haven't even looked at the poster, Richard, to see that gap.
Well, this is my point. This is one of my questions.
This is not working. I mean,
you've changed since you landed the gig in Vegas.
I'm talking to somebody. Can you... I mean, he's come in, and he's already saying, oh, look, your poster's got a sellout laurel missing. How many sellout laurels have your poster got?
I know this is an audio recording, but when I said then, you've changed since you went to Vegas, your girlfriend just looked at me and nodded her head like, yes, he has.
Why is he even talking still? How many sellout laurels has their poster got?
I don't know why you're asking me.
Because I don't want to talk. I'm sort of over.
Do you want me to get your PR rep to come and handle this for you?
Well, we need to ask some tough questions, right?
All right, off you go.
Burglass. I listened to last week's episode.
Yeah, what do you want to know?
Yeah. What do you...
Stand by every word.
You don't want to apologise to the magic industry?
Why?
Well, some of it was a bit rude, wasn't it?
About what?
Burglass.
What was rude about burglass?
Well, you were saying that you can't do any card at any number.
Yes.
You stick by it?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Can anyone?
Can anyone do it?
Yes.
As he wins, got a good version.
That's not what I asked.
Well...
Don't come on here with ill-thought-through accusations and then, put the ball in my corner asking me to dig my way out. I said, if you recall, on my podcast, thepiffpod.com, I said that the effect of a deck on a table, you name any card, you name somebody else, or you name any number, and without the magician touching the deck, you pick it up and deal down to that card. I said that's bullshit.
He's in his 90s.
So?
You don't think that's an issue?
With what?
The man's a legend. And
You're turning this around.
Show some respect.
To what?
Show some respect.
Listen.
This is David Burglass.
Don't start shouting out poorly thought through accusations that have nothing to do with what I said. I clearly said that effect is impossible.
No. And if I can go into a bit more detail, what you actually said was hardly any of the tricks in the book actually work.
That's a different book.
Yeah, but it's still a Burglass book.
But it's not the Burglass effect.
Right, okay, but it's still... You spent an hour...
No, and I didn't say they didn't work. I said they weren't real.
You spent an hour with Kevin... Is he McMahon or Quantum these days?
Who knows?
That guy. A really nice guy.
Don't try and back... Look, don't... He was the one throwing... petrol over the fire.
I don't think he was.
Don't start saying he's the nice guy.
I don't think he was.
He was the worst one.
He was the only one in the
room
ring
When he rang me up to buy that book, I said, you don't want to buy this, you purchased it anyway. And then immediately, what does he bring up? He brings up the fact that I overcharged him for a Burglass book with no method in it.
I listened to that podcast. He was the only man in the room who was aware you were digging a grave for yourself.
There were two of us in the room.
It took you about 20 minutes to realise what you'd done. 20 minutes of Burglass bashing, that was.
There was zero Burglass bashing.
Well... I think the listeners should go.
No, you're like the Daily Mail of magic-based podcasts here, just trying to stir up some controversy out of nothing.
This is good. I do consider myself a broadcast journalist, so
you're not a broadcast journalist.
Quite happy with the Daily Mail comparison.
Yeah, great. Well, the fact that you're happy with the Daily Mail comparison shows the difference between you and I.
Okay, let's move on. All right. So just to be clear, you don't want to apologise for your comments on the Burglass effect in the Burglass book.
You don't go.
No. Okay, fair enough. Let's move on. So you're in. You've come to Edinburgh. Did you bring the Vegas show over, or have you just brought what would go in your luggage, or what's the content of the show?
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I... what was the question? The Vegas show that is... Yeah, it's a sort of like streamlined tour version of the Vegas show.
Okay. I really like your Vegas show. I said
Thanks,
that.
Richard.
I came to see it. Really
Oh,
good.
thanks. I'll
Free-
put it on my resume.
Free ticket I got for that.
Yeah, we'll use that as a quote next year. We'll get rid of all the sold out laurels. It'll just be, I really like the Vegas show, says Richard. How about that?
Very good. All right, so I do have a proper question now,
Oh.
which is something you have done.
Is this something you've thought through,
I'm gonna-
researched and...
I'm going to pay tribute to you. I'm going to
Oh,
say
damn.
actually something that's quite impressive that you've done, which is you're an AGT act from 3 years ago you've managed to keep it rolling, which is, let's be honest, is really difficult when the next season comes along and the season after that, and you kept your Vegas show, you're still
Has your
touring
computer
around.
got a CD drive on it?
Yes, pretty old, yeah. Actually, I've got to be honest, I'm a bit
What is
worried.
this being recorded on? A tape reel?
I'm a bit worried about this interview, just to let you know. But I hope it's going to be all right. But we'll find out at the end, won't we? Yeah. So how have you done that?
Why are you dusting my table when you're saying this?
I wasn't. That wasn't.
You
that
are.
was, it was
You
a hand
dusted the
gesture.
table.
It was signalling a period
This is
of
a
time
clean
that's passed
surface, alright?
by. Yeah, okay.
The dog lives on the floor.
It's a very nice flat, by the way.
Thank you.
Very nice. At least
God,
three,
this water's disgusting.
at least $4,000 a month. This is well for the month of August, obviously. So how have you done that then? Come on, tell us. Give us an
Oh, let
insight.
me give you my money-making secrets.
Oh, it's not
Here
money
we go,
making
step
secret.
one.
Yeah, what have you? What do you think it is then? Because I think it's probably just constant hard work, right? You work. I've been told by someone I know you're the hardest working man in magic. You're constantly working, getting red-eye flights, flying all over the place.
Just wish I'd never agreed to this. I was having a really good day today.
All right, let's talk about something you want to talk about then. What do you want to talk about? What about the TV special you just shot? Why don't we talk about that? Come on, you're dying to talk about it.
No, no.
You're not? Well, tell us about it anyway.
Why?
Because there's about 3,000 people listening.
3,000?
Yeah, it's not a lot, I know. It's not AGT, is it? But they're all your peers.
Oh, God, it's even worse. Look. I just had an open and honest conversation about the contents of the Burglass literature, and 3 days later I'm being harangued for it. So do you really think I want to start delving in to my AGT secrets? And that's not the best way to warm up for an interview.
What you did? You think I went in too
Listen,
strong?
I've done all this podcasting stuff now. I'm a broadcast journalist. Let me try it on you.
I have listened to the Piff
You know-
podcast. There has been the occasional good episode. So, I really like the Kevin Quantum one. Who else did I like?
Listen, who's interviewed you on the Magicians?
Nobody.
What was it called?
The Magicians podcast.
Yeah, that's it. Let me do that then.
There's nothing to talk to me about, is there?
Shut up. Let's talk to you about the state of British magic. You
All right,
ready?
go for it. Yeah.
Here we are with Young or Strange. Now, thank you for your time here on the Magicians podcast. Now, you've done some of the most moderately priced weddings over the last few years.
Yes,
and
do a lot of weddings. Yeah.
some of the more financially viable bar mitzvahs.
Don't do bar mitzvahs.
Oh, why? Tell us why. What happened?
I got a very, very clear policy. No bar mitzvahs.
Why was that policy placed?
Because
in
they're
place?
awful gigs, aren't they? No bar mitzvahs.
Why are
No,
they- why are
no
they awful?
boats.
I've
no
done a
boats.
few bar mitzvahs. I've had a lovely time.
Have you done boats? You know when
Yeah,
they go down the
done
Thames.
a couple of boats. Yeah,
And you got to get on at 6:30 and doesn't get back till 11.
yeah, done a couple of them.
And there's nowhere to hide.
What's wrong? What do you mean hide?
When you're on
These people are paying you good money. Good money for you to go around. Oh, what, you have a tough job. 6:30 to 11. Is that a 4.5 hour window and you're out?
I've heard about you when you used to do close-up gigs.
Oh
you
my
were
God.
no good at them either. I've heard all of
Listen,
this.
I thought that you were out here changing the face of modern magic, and I just hear you're hiding in the toilet on the River Thames. Is that your?
This is coming from
Is
the
that
guy.
on your website?
On-
Is that what it is?
I
It's just
re-listened.
Young or Strange hiding on the Thames on a daily basis.
Well, you know what? There's worse places to hide. London's an expensive place. So also, I was listening back to your episode a couple of days ago in the run-up to this.
Which episode?
The one that
you
we
and I did?
recorded in Vegas. Do you remember
Yeah.
a few years ago?
Not
And
really.
you're the guy who walked up to a guy and asked if he wanted to see your sponge bunnies, just as his wife had asked him for a divorce.
Card trick. I said it was a card trick.
Okay.
You see, again, Richard, you're there with a poorly researched fact, and then you throw the burglar slander at me. I mean, how are your broadcast peers going to take you seriously?
I don't have any broadcast peers.
Well, no, especially at the Daily Mail. You're going to have to be doing a front page apology. That's one of the things they're known for.
They do front page apologies, do you?
Well, they sort of hide them in the subscript, but yeah.
So does that mean you will be issuing an apology
For what?
for the burglass?
No, I just gave cold hard facts.
Okay. Well, I thought after a few days of thinking about it,
Do you remember when we were in Edinburgh, and I said to you, I said, you've let all these magicians off scot-free
That's why I'm
for
here.
the opinions that they have.
Your words
said.
were, I don't like listening to other people's PR. That's why I came straight in with a tough question to you.
It's not a tough question. So you're telling me you let all the... How many podcasts did you do?
72.
72. And you let 71 magicians get away with murder, and you're going to have a go at me for something which is demonstrably true.
What do you mean it's not true?
It is true.
Right, it is
So
true.
so the Burglass book,
Yeah.
can you do any card, any number using that book?
Well, no, to be clear, I have not read the book.
You haven't even read it!
I've not read the book.
Did you read his other one?
No.
The red one?
No, I haven't read any of the Burglass books. No.
Oh my god. Come on, are you serious? You haven't even read the books? At least I've done the research.
Okay.
So you're just coming here, swinging your little poorly thought through dick of accusation around, and leaving all of the previous 71 magicians just listening to this, bathing in their unchecked brags. Oh, this is a new low, Richard.
I interviewed Burglass, you've forgotten this,
Yes.
on his 90th birthday around
Yes,
that time.
yes.
And I did a 2-hour podcast with him, and he did any card, any number to me.
Yeah, and what did he do?
He asked me to name a card,
Yeah,
and then name a number,
yeah.
and then he said it was a shame I had to go.
Right.
And then when I went back the next time, he said name a card, name a number, and the card was at the number in the deck. That's what happened.
Well, I guess I'm wrong. I guess he really can do it, Richard.
Well, this is for you to decide, isn't it?
No.
Everyone's... Look, you're an island. I'm an island. It's up to you to decide whether you think it's true or not. I believe him. Oh, I've made a little connection. You're giving it some thought?
No.
Oh,
I was just
right.
staring off in a sort of mournful thought about the time I'm never going to get back.
So can you... They're not secrets, right? Tell me, you do know. Why do you think you've been able to keep it rolling as an AGT at 3 years down the road? They can't see you shaking your head in disgust at me. Okay.
But they can hear it.
Alright, next question. Well, do you want to talk about the special that you shot?
Not really.
You don't want to talk about that either?
I'm still editing it. It's taking ages.
I've heard it's amazing. This is
Yeah,
what
it's
I've heard. And so, can you tell us a little bit? So, is it a live show, or is it like a sitcom? Or?
It's a live. It's a mixture of live stage magic and offstage magic.
Okay. Any of your famous friends in it? Because you got a lot of famous friends these days.
A couple.
Are they? Can you say who?
No.
Right. Have you? You've been at the Fringe. So when did you arrive in the country?
I'm thinking. Tuesday. What? Tuesday morning.
This is what Eamon Holmes felt like when he spoke to Blaine, isn't it? That morning.
This is what Blaine felt like when he spoke to Eamon Holmes.
So
Who would you rather be, David Blaine or Eamon Holmes?
I don't know. Eamon's married to Ruth, isn't he? She's nice. You don't agree? Okay.
God, the next podcast is going to be, what's wrong with Eamon Holmes?
Hey, look. At least I don't make my podcast the night before it's due out, like you do.
So what's the problem? Yeah, because I have a job.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. You've arrived. How was the London show? You did the London show, and then you've come up to Edinburgh. How was it? What's it like coming back for the British audiences? I heard your opening line in London through a friend.
What did I say?
You apparently came out.
Which friend?
I'm not naming
Just
names.
name the name.
I'm not naming names. Someone was in the audience.
Who?
Someone was
Come
in the
on.
audience.
Just tell us.
No, I'm not saying.
God, you're such a pussy.
Anyway.
You're such a pussy, apart from everyone with me, and then you come back, you drop all the Burglass bombshells on the table.
Look, journalists protect their sources, but apparently you walked out on the stage in London and you got like a British round of applause, and you said, "See, that's why I left." That is brilliant. Is that true?
When Seinfeld played Birmingham, did you know what his opening line was?
No.
He walked out and he says, "Good evening, Birmingham. Do you know how many times I've wanted to play Birmingham? Never, not once." Yeah, I walked out to nothing but apathy.
But they come to you. It was your show.
No, it's polite apathy.
Right, I see.
It's just a difference of people here sort of want you to prove it a bit more, which is fine.
Yeah.
And then, you do, and then they enjoy it. But, in America, they sort of... Well, first of all, they're more excited to come to the show because, they've been thinking about it longer. They've been like, oh, he was, he was on AGT 3 years ago, and somehow he's kept that ball rolling. Maybe if we go and see a show, we'll find out how. And so they're very excited to learn all my money-making secrets.
I see.
It's more of a seminar.
How many nights a week are you doing in Vegas these
7.
days? So you're in Vegas. So are you still touring occasionally, or is it?
Yes, we just did 7 a week. We're now so over summer from mid-June until mid-July we do every night, and then we start. I take my 2-week holiday and I come to Edinburgh where I do the Fringe. Then I go back, and then we're doing Sunday through Thursday in Vegas, and then Friday and Saturday we're on the road.
So I spoke to a friend of mine.
God damn it! Who is this friend? Just tell us.
No. This
What
is
did it look
a
like?
different friend.
Oh, you got 2 of them.
In fact, if you listen to this podcast, you'll know the friend is because he's on the beginning of the podcast we've had a little chat about Edinburgh.
I'm not going to listen to this.
All right, so it was Alan Hudson.
Okay.
And he basically said, I said, what questions should I ask these magicians? And he said, ask them 2 questions. The first one is, why are you here? What is it that you hope to get out of Edinburgh? Especially when you're 9 years in. So your answer to that is?
I just enjoy it.
Just enjoy it?
Yeah. I come to see my friends, not you, but people I like, spend time with them, and get to do shows for the British audience. See shows because I'm working so much that I don't get to see any other shows. So this is my time to catch up, see what's going on, see what the current trends are in comedy. And Edinburgh is one of my favourite places. See Richard Wiseman. He's a nice guy.
Nice guy.
And
both called Richard.
That's where he's also called Wise Man.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. He came to see our show. When
Whereas
we were
you're
up here in
called
April.
Young or Strange. I mean,
Yeah, I'm young.
whatever.
Honestly, just rude. So is that? So there's no.
But that's the thing about having a double act, where it's like, you're just going by your last names. I mean, who knows? You could be either.
Well, what we've learned very quickly is no one gives a crap which one's which.
Well, that's not good, is it?
Well, it's just fact, though. No one even knows who Ant or Deck is, do they?
Yes,
well, they
they
do
do.
now. He's been caught drink driving and sacked.
And also, they've had a very successful career.
Yeah,
so.
to be fair, the other one must be livid, though, right?
Yeah.
So basically, just do it for fun. It's not.
Yeah, I'll do it for fun. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're right. What they're going to say? Do you want a Vegas show? Thanks, already got one.
Yeah. What's the best thing that can happen?
Interesting. And the other one is honest answer. Are you making money up here or losing money up here?
I
Because
don't know.
everyone's different.
That's a question for Alex. Are we making money? I think we'll make money, won't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we work with the stand, and then that's a split, I think.
Yeah, it sounds a good venue for it. There's no upfront charges.
Yeah, they don't rinse you on ridiculous costs. So, and we're doing a few other gigs while we're here, so make some money. Fly over on the old air miles.
You flew over on Air Miles, did you?
Yeah.
Got a few friends obsessed by that.
Oh, it's the wait, you have an Amex card?
I've got 75,000 Avios points at the moment, so I'm
Well,
still a way off.
What's Avios?
Yeah, I don't know what yours is. So it's Amex, and then you can. I can't
Isn't
believe I'm
Avios
this
a car
conversation.
rental? Why not? This is a sort of interesting thing.
Because you know what,
God.
a lot of people
We
listen
have
to
nothing
this.
in common.
No, nothing. A lot of the people listening to this,
Yes.
they're sort of magicians who, they're climbers, aren't they? So they want to fly business class, but they don't really belong there. Oof, that's controversial, isn't it? But it's true. And so, yeah.
What's your point?
A lot of them collect Avios points. Is the point? Avios points you can convert to BA reward points, and then you can book.
We don't fly any British Airlines because they won't take the dog.
Ah.
American Airlines, like American, Delta, United, Mr. Pivels flies in the cabin with us. So what happens is we fly with Delta all year round, and then we collect all the air miles. We also use our Amex points. Then we fly first class from America to here on points.
That's brilliant.
Mr. Pivels sleeps on my head.
But you have to pay all the taxes still, right? That's
It's
how
like
it works.
£300, I think.
That's pretty good. So this leads on to another thing I want to talk about. It's been
Does it? Does that lead on?
Look, we're nearly finished,
That-
all right?
that discussion
yes,
about
because
air
you
miles.
mentioned an animal, and I was going to say about animals in shows.
Right.
So, Alex, the producer of the show I'm in,
Your boss.
made a decision recently to not have animals in our show anymore.
What animal was in the show? Oh,
Yeah.
the old doves.
We had doves. Russ Stevens recently has been asking whether Blackpool Magic Convention should ban doves and invisible harnesses. Do you ever get any complaints about the dog on the show? What are your
thing
thoughts?
is that whenever you try to do blanket bans, it kind of you're just trying to deal with the lowest common denominator. Because what you're trying to deal with is you're trying to deal with some dickhead who thinks it's a good idea to make a small bird suffer. That's all you're trying to stop. That's all you're trying to protect yourself against. You're not banning, Johnny Thompson, who has his birds for 30 years and takes better care of those animals than, people do their children.
Yes.
But Johnny Thompson gets caught up in that. So Mr. Piffles travels with me wherever I go. He spends more time with me than... You have a dog?
No.
You have an animal?
No.
He spends more time than me than your dignity does with you.
Right.
And he's one of the most happiest, carefree animals that you'll ever like to meet. And then there are other animals that are shoved, in the glove box while the car's running, that aren't having such a good time. So I'm really sort of against blanket bans on anything.
Yeah.
I'm against people. I'm sort of more for people using common sense and being trustable.
Have you had any incidents over the last
We have
couple
it
of
all
years
the time.
where people ask about the welfare of the dog?
Welfare of the dog, the welfare of the dragon, people complain about many things.
I can't imagine you deal with those complaints too well.
I don't.
I didn't.
No, this woman came up to me. She said she didn't like the cursing in the show, and for the record, it's not. It's pretty mild.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
They say maybe shit a couple of times, and that's about it. She said you shouldn't be allowed to curse in the show. She said I'm not allowed to use the N-word, so you shouldn't be allowed to curse.
That's an incredible parallel she's drawn there, isn't it?
So I don't think I really need to engage with those people.
That's interesting.
Same with people who come up to me about the dog. I don't feel that I'm in any way obligated to engage with them.
Fair enough. Well, this has been, it's been fun.
Did we have a good enough argument for you?
I enjoy our debates.
No, you started this by saying, Piff, can you make it really uncomfortable, like we're going to have a big argument? So I just want to know whether that was awkward enough for you, because I can make it worse.
I think it's been fine. What do you think?
No, I'm just asking whether we've achieved your goal.
I think it's been a fun 25 minutes for everybody.
You're avoiding the question. God, you just have the balls to stand up
That's
for
what
your own
politicians
opinion.
do. They answer questions by asking
You're a
ones.
broadcast journalist. You're supposed to have the politicians on the ropes. You can't play both sides here.
So apparently a politician got asked once by a journalist, is it true, sir, that every politician answers a question by asking one? He replied, who told you that? That's pretty good, right? Oh, there we go. That's silence to end the interview with. Well, it was nice to see you again, John. And, enjoy... Piff. And thanks for being on the podcast. Good. It was good to have you back, I will say. Even if we did just basically have a row.
As you requested.
Thank you very much.
The Magicians Podcast, brought to you in association with the Magic Circle, the world's premier magical society. Are you ready to join the world's most exclusive magic club? Visit themagiccircle.co.uk to find out more.
Gigi-O, free for 30 days. Be a pro, get Gigi-O.
Ah, it's good to hear that again, isn't it? Gigi-O, ladies and gentlemen, still has a free 30-day trial of it waiting for you right now at gigio.co.uk. Gigi-O is spelled Giggio. If you are a professional or semi-professional magician, you need this software. It will allow you to run your business in the most efficient way possible. It generates PDF contracts and invoices. It will track your payments. It will even update the diary on your phone automatically. Take card payments from your clients directly, so no more hassle about backs payments and having to give them your details. Go to the website right now, gigio.co.uk, to take the free 30-day trial.
Whether you're new to magic or a seasoned professional, Alakazam Magic are here to help. Alakazam have been supplying magic to magicians for well over 20 years. Not only do we carry all the latest and greatest magic tricks, books and DVDs, but we also manufacture one of the finest ranges of magic tricks in the world. The Alakazam name is synonymous with great customer service, educated advice, and honesty. So if you're shopping for new magic, make sure you check out our website, www.alakazam.co.uk, or pay a visit to our fully stocked shop.
That was my great friend Piff The Magic Dragon. It was very good to see him. He does have his own podcast, the Piff Podcast, which is free every single week. And if you'd like to look it up and listen to this week's episode, you will hear an interview with me and also Harry de Cruz. That's free on iTunes. So, Ben Hart is an amazing magician, and this year he's been going down an absolute storm with his new show, The Nutshell. I went to see it, and this interview was recorded with him literally minutes after he came off stage. So I'm sat here in the Gilded Balloon with Ben Hart. He's just come off stage a few minutes ago. I think that was your 20th, maybe 21st performance of The Nutshell. How are you feeling this far into the run?
I'm feeling like a broken man. It was pretty tough tonight. I was very like finding energy from the darkest corners of my body.
Well, you've had a long day today. You've done some filming today as well. So you told me you had a 5 a.m. wake up call. So you've been out all day, travelled somewhere, and then you've come and done a show. That's stressful doing that, right?
Very, yeah. And it's a funny thing because you don't, as performers, nothing can prepare you for that until it just happens. And when it happens, you think, wow, I wish I had been prepared. I wish I'd been warned about this. It's all well and good thinking, anyone could go and do a day's filming and then a show, but actually sometimes when you have to wake up at the crack of dawn and you've done consecutive shows here for a long time, and it's very hard. I was an emotionally broken man on stage, so I tried to channel that this evening.
Well, it was fantastic, and the audience have left. They're very, very happy. And we were just talking before I pressed record on the microphone that one of the decisions you've made in this show is to sort of stop the applause.
Yeah, sometimes I do. Yeah,
you more encourage an audible response, and you said you kind of thank them when they make that reaction.
Yeah, I do a lot of positive reinforcement for anything which is an interaction that is not applause. Not heckling, but I mean, like, if somebody even begins to gasp, I'll say something like, I heard you gasp, that's amazing. And by doing that, everybody it's like a sort of social conformity thing. You can audiences are hardwired to applause through repetition, through all the performances they've seen. Well, there's no reason why we can't rewire that.
It's great. What a great technique. I've never heard anyone say that. And this show is full of amazing ideas. And, I can see you've even made the decision to keep a lot of the music very low as well, so that, the audience reaction is heard.
There's a lot of silence as well in this show. A huge amount of silence where I don't speak.
I think it's the biggest compliment I can pay you is that perhaps one of the most amazing reactions I have ever heard from an audience tonight, sitting in the middle of the room as I was to your egg trick with the fan.
Yeah.
Is it okay if we talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, what an amazing idea. So forgive me because I've just watched the show as well. So the audience on the way in were asked to write down some objects.
Yeah, they're asked to look into an empty glass, drinking glass, and to visualise an object inside that glass, and then to write it down on a single piece of confetti. And all the pieces of confetti are put in the glass, and the glass is brought in. It's not brought in a sneaky way. It's not like a Q&A or anything.
Yes.
And then I say that one object will select itself, and I take out a hand fan, which makes a bit more sense in the plot of the show. It's not just a fan, it's a representation of something else. And I do basically like a snowstorm with all the pieces of confetti, and one piece ends up settled on the fan. And somebody reads out what that object is, and this evening it was the object egg. And so I then take the confetti back and ask everyone to listen very closely, and I bounce that confetti up and down on the fan, and I hear it getting heavier. And amazingly, this is one of the strongest parts of the trick. The audience are so intrigued by the idea of an aural illusion as they hear this thing getting heavier and heavier, until I say I'm going to make it change form, and it starts to look like it swells up and becomes an egg, and then I crack the egg into that glass, and the audience quite literally sometimes jump to their feet as though we've just scored a goal in an England match.
Well, as I just said, I've never heard a reaction like it to a trick at the Fringe ever, and your use of silence in it and the low volume of the music playing, Ben, probably best thing I've ever seen you do.
Thank you very much.
I really mean that.
I'm actually about to publish that trick and all of the work on that.
No,
and the script.
don't do that. Keep it for yourself.
I am. Yeah.
You could tour the world with that trick. I'm interested. Why would you do that?
Why not? It's a good trick. Other people should be able to have fun with it.
I think that's a terrible idea, Ben Hart. Keep it for yourself, my friend. That is an amazing piece of theatre you've created there.
Thank you.
Can I ask, has anybody helped you with this show?
Well, less so than other shows I've done. I have Neil Kelso, who does my camera work in the show. Now, Neil is an amazing and experienced magician and magic thinker, and so that has really affected the aesthetic value of the video in the show, because there's a live video camera and a projection screen, but the video is used in a way which is, I think, more creative without being invasive.
Yes.
Like, the video tells us its own story and you see the show through a different eye. It's not just a magnification. And also, by Neil being here every day, he has to sit through my constant, oh, should it be this? What do you think about this? What if I change that? So Neil's been really useful, and I always bounce ideas off Mark Elston, and I bounce my initial idea for the show, which actually is basically the ending of the show. I spoke to him about it, and no, I haven't worked with a writer or director this time. I've done it myself.
Oh, that's amazing, Ben. So
I hope we're all collaborating and sharing ideas between trusted friends.
So how many? What is it? You said this is your 6th year at the Fringe.
It's my 6th year at the Fringe. Yeah.
So here's a callback for you. You won't even remember saying this, but in preparation for talking to you tonight, I listened back to the interview you did on the podcast a few years ago.
Yeah.
And there was this amazing thing that you said on it, and I wanted to hear whether you still believe it's true and get your thoughts on it. You said on the podcast that you believe magicians probably only have 3 great shows in them. And
where do you think I got the number 3 from?
I don't know, but do you still think that's true? I mean, this is your 6th show. Tonight, genuinely, I'm being honest, that's the best I've ever seen you. The last time I saw you so good was at the Magic Circle Christmas show a few years ago. Do you believe this is your best show?
This sounds really weird, because there's some stuff in this show which I think is really interesting, but I've been really busy the last, I'm happy, things are going well. I'm being so busy, I haven't had a chance to become as emotionally involved in the content of the show as I have in previous years. When the Fringe used to form the backbone of my year, I could spend a lot more time getting into it. This show kind of crept up on me, and I had to make it and write it in a really short period of time. So is it my best show? I'm very fond of a show I did in 2014 called The Vanishing Boy, which was not the most interesting magic I've done, but I just really liked the writing of it. No, this show's really good. It's been such a whirlwind here, I haven't had a chance to think about it. What's for sure is this show is, I think the audiences who come to this show are really, really responding to it, because it's very much about mystery without the kind of ego that sometimes goes with mystery. It's actually mainly a mentalism show, but it doesn't feel at all like it's mentalism. In fact, just before I went on stage here, I was talking to Neil and we were going through the tricks, and I was saying, oh my god, this is a mentalism show.
Yeah.
In like almost every trick is a mentalism routine, but it's become a visual magic trick, if that makes sense.
Do you have a favourite trick in the show that you're doing?
Well, the reactions every night to the egg trick are so incredible to me that I'm become very, very proud and fond of it. It's not an easy trick to do, and it's time consuming. It takes up a lot of work to get it to work right every night. So I really like the egg trick, and I personally really like a word written inside a walnut.
Yes.
Because that's the trick that this show grew out of. That was the first trick I had, and everything was sculpted around that. And I also like the thing I do with a diamond. Yes. Because to me it's just so much. No, I like almost all of it. I there are bits I don't like, but they'll be easy to fix when I get a chance to step back and adjust them.
Where was the original concept from the show? How long ago did you come up with it, and where did the original concept for the idea of the show, the nutshell?
I had this. I can't quite remember. A long time ago, I was on tour with Impossible, and I was chatting backstage about like revealing predictions, mentalism predictions, and I was like, why are they're never very emotive? And I was like, what if it was like, I was thinking about ringing walnut, because I've always liked the ringing walnut trick, and I was like, what if it was a prediction in a walnut? Where would that take us? And then I realised the walnut looks like a brain, and I thought that's really interesting. It could be a memory inside a nut. And then I thought, people talk about people being crazy as going nuts. I was like, it could be a memory of a moment of insanity. And so it all grew from there. And then as I was sort of thinking about it, I remembered this thing I'd heard about years ago, which was, I don't really want to reveal too much to people who haven't seen the show, but there's this thing which is called a nutshell, which is not a nut. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. And that led me to the ending of the show, and it all kind of grew from there.
It's amazing. You mentioned Impossible. Since we did the interview a few years ago, you did 2 runs in the West End.
Yeah.
Over 2 summers, you did a tour. We've
been all over. We've
gone to Manila,
been all over the world, the Philippines and Singapore and Dubai and Lebanon and all over. It's quite a big show.
Do you enjoy being part of an ensemble show, Ben, or is this really your first love, doing your one-man show? I mean, but the reality is, tonight it's 100 people, maybe in Impossible you're performing for 1,000, 2,000
Yeah,
people.
over Christmas we were doing 8,000 people.
Oh, you did an arena run,
yeah.
That's right, yeah.
I personally really like making new material, and the problem with being in an ensemble show is it's so costly and time consuming to adjust work in those shows that once it's locked, it's locked. And for me that's a nightmare, because I just want to make new stuff all the time. That's why I keep coming back with new shows year after year. And a lot of magicians, you just said to me I could travel the world for the rest of my life with that egg trick. Well, I could, but I'm already bored of it.
Wow, really?
So,
you can't be bored of that reaction, though, surely. My goodness.
And also, I don't want anyone listening to think, it's bad for a performer to be bored. I don't think it is bad for a performer to be bored. I think the boredom is what inspires you to push yourself more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
Like, I'm bored of this. I've got to do something to make it more interesting for me, and that pushes it into new areas.
You mentioned to me outside before the show that actually being up here for the 6th year, you're maybe a little bit bored of the Fringe. The novelty's worn off a little bit. Do you feel you maybe need a year off from it, or will you be back next year with another show? Or?
Well, I was saying I was going to take some time off, and then I've had some conversations in the last few days, which means that probably I'll be back with a new show. And I've got an idea for a new show, which is very, very different to anything I've done before. So it's a tempting thing, isn't it, to come back with an audience that's loyal. Like, so many of these people who come in have seen me before.
Yeah.
And it becomes part of their holiday. I mean, that's amazing to me, that people go, we'll go to the Fringe, we'll go and see this show, and this show, we'll go see Ben's show. That's so rewarding.
That's amazing.
And also, because they've seen your previous work, it allows you to deliver a creative criticism of your own work, because they're comparing your show to your previous show. Now, for some people see this as a problem. How am I going to do a show as good as my last one? Don't worry about that. Do a show that absolutely criticises, undermines and corrects your last one. I think that's really important. So there's much of the stuff in this show is because last year I tried to make a show that was about very much about order and everything. There was almost no props. This show is very much about clutter.
Yes. What a brilliant way the clutter. I won't ruin anything in case people are be lucky enough to see this show. Now, listen, I know over the last few years, you've worked on lots of TV stuff, and the TV magic world has changed quite a lot in the last couple of years, hasn't it? And there's, I remember we had a conversation 6 or 8 months ago, and you sort of said that is the TV magic bubble burst a little bit in terms to stuff being made and.
Well, oh God, it's going to sound like a therapy session. I decided a little while ago that I was not going to incorporate television as part of my career trajectory. Now, it may, it may end up being incorporated into it, but we grow up in magic thinking, I'm going to be a big star, I'm going to be on TV, and I'm going to make loads of money as a result of it. I've eliminated that now, and if TV comes along, as it does, I will do it because it's another medium to try to master. But before, I used to see TV as like that's how I'm gonna retire early. Now I'm much more focused on just live shows, I think. But has the TV bubble burst? No, I think there's as much TV magic being made as ever. But that's seen through my biased lens because I'm involved in TV projects. So I don't know what's happening outside of that. But I feel like it's the same as it has been for a few years. I think that things are evolving, and I feel quite strongly that TV magic needs to be shaken up somehow, and that can only come from a commissioner who decides they want to do something radical. It can't come from us.
I find it extraordinary that you say you look at your career trajectory, but what is your career? So do you have a 5-year plan? Where do you want to be 5 years from now?
I don't even have a 5-day plan.
Right.
My 5-day plan is to turn up on time and do the show. I don't have No, I'm not that. I'm not a future thinker. I read a book about. I'm not into these types of books, but I read a book about like past thinkers, present thinkers, and future thinkers, and how that affects your life. And I realised I'm absolutely not a future thinker. You know, I lose things. I leave stuff on the bus. You know, I never think about what's coming next. So I don't know what's next for me. I mean, I just keep making shows, and my main thing I'm into at the moment is collaborating. So I'm just always desperate to collaborate with people on their material or other projects. So doing theatre consultancy and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I saw that on your website. You're doing a lot more of the theatre. So have you worked on anything interesting recently? Or
well, I just did the special effects in the West End production of The Exorcist, and I'm working on 3 projects. I did Christmas Carol for the Royal Shakespeare Company, and I'm working on another project for... You may remember this. A while ago you saw a play I did the ending for called Wild.
I do remember it, yes.
And I'm working with that same theatre company to do another show with quite a similar ending, another batshit crazy ending.
Yeah. I didn't love that show, if I'm being honest.
No, but did you love the ending?
It was 2 and a bit hours of mediocrity, followed by about a minute and a half of WTF, basically. Yeah, the whole thing just turned on its head.
Yeah, at the end of the show, the set, which is like a hotel room, sort of disappears through various bizarre means, like kind of like flies away and collapses and like breakaway wands, but like for chairs and tables and stuff. And then it reveals what you think is the empty theatre, and you can see just like the backstage area. And then that set, which was 10 metres wide, turns suddenly on its side 90 degrees, and the actors are now walking on the walls with no visible means of support. And then one of them bursts himself like a balloon and disappears in a shower of confetti. And that was the end of the show.
Yeah, that was it. But the 2 hours before that was just a play, just some actors.
Oh yeah, I was
playing.
I got
that
watched that bit.
I could definitely see where your bit was. Definitely. I don't know who did the rest of it, but anyway, no, it was an amazing thing. So I've been asking everyone I've been speaking to just a couple of questions. Why are you here, Ben Hart, at Ed Fringe? What is it that brings you here, and what do you hope to get out of a successful festival? You've had great reviews, audiences, packed houses, everyone's saying your show's great, but when you arrived here at the beginning of August, what were you hoping would happen by the end of August?
Do you know, when you phrase it like that, I realise it's insanity, isn't it? Like, when you phrase it like that, like, for me, it's my 6th year, it's my 2nd year in the same room, it's my 4th year in the same size room, so I've chosen not to go into bigger rooms. So that's kind of weird in itself.
Right.
On top of that, I've chosen to come back with shows of completely new material. I could have done shows of other stuff, compilation shows of other work. I've chosen to do a conceptual show, which is not necessarily the most commercial show. And like when you add it all up, I don't know why I'm here. I don't really make any money here.
Well, that is the next question, and I'm asking this to everyone. Are you making money or losing money?
No, I don't make money. No, because it depends how you look at it, doesn't it? Because certainly I've turned down work to be here, work that would equate to more money than I could make here, because the overheads are huge, they're really high. Like basically, I probably will make a very small loss, and that's through artistic choices. If I'd chosen to make a show of simpler material, maybe I would have spent less money on it, and that money could have gone into my pocket.
So you've been sold out all but a couple of nights, my understanding.
Tonight was the first night I haven't sold out. I was technically I was 2 seats away from a technical sellout tonight. Yeah.
And you're leaving having lost money. It's madness, isn't it?
Yeah, it's madness. But like I think, was it you that first told me that said that Edinburgh Fringe is like a trade show?
Actually, Morgan and West said it to me, and I thought it was a fantastic way to look at it. It's a shame they're not here this year. They would obviously have been on the podcast, but they said that they view the Edinburgh Fringe as a trade show where they can show their wares and meet people, and I think it's a really interesting way to look at it. Actually,
for those people who know me, like I'm a very artistically stubborn person, and I know that a lot of magicians say that to call magic, like to say artistically is rich. I completely disagree. Artistically, I've got a desire to make new material all the time in ways which are conceptually really stimulating, and there isn't anywhere else I can do that. Most of my year is corporates and private parties where I can't talk to them about the stuff I talk about in this show.
Yeah.
And so because I want to talk about this stuff, I've got to do it here. There's nowhere else in the world I can do it. The only place I can do it is here or other fringes. I can't even do it in the commercial show I'm in, Impossible, because some of the subject matter of my shows is, well, in this show speak about like murder and show photographs of crime scenes, sort of.
That's a great bit. Actually, got to say something.
Yeah.
One of the first effects in the show,
Yeah.
Bruno Coppin's butterfly effects that you do. When you bought that from him, was his card machine not working? Every time I've ever seen that guy at Magic Convention, I'm very sorry, the card machine's not working.
That's like most magic dealers.
I can only take cash.
Yeah. That's funny.
Was that your experience?
No, but that's like a lot of taxi drivers here in Edinburgh.
Ben, this has been brilliant. Thank you for meeting me. I know you're absolutely exhausted. Congratulations again on a great show.
Thank you very much.
I really love to. Thank you for being on the Magicians Podcast.
Thanks for having me back. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I'm very, very glad to have this little return to the Magicians Podcast. Yeah. I'm looking forward to listening to it.
Thanks again, Ben. Cheers.
Thank you.
From Ben Hart, we go to Ben Hanlin, who's doing a show up here featuring 50 tricks. So I'm in another lovely coffee shop here in Edinburgh, and this time I'm sat with Ben Hanlin. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Richard. How are we doing?
Long time no see, my friend. That was years and years ago we did that podcast at ITV, wasn't it? Do you remember?
It was, yeah. That's not even there anymore. They're knocking that tower down and rebuilding it.
Are you really?
Yeah. There you go.
Well, that's like the main place, isn't it?
Yeah. So that is like they're building a whole new studio right on the South Bank in London.
Oh, so they're just knocking it down, starting again?
Yeah.
Not like knocking it down and moving to Manchester like the BBC did?
No. They're just rebuilding.
Fair enough. How are you?
I'm good. What, we're 22 days into the Fringe. I'm still alive.
You're still alive.
And I'm not hating life, so life's okay. Yeah.
Are you missing home, though? Because I see on your phone there's a picture of a baby.
Yeah, that is mine.
Yeah,
it's not just a random.
Not just a picture of a child on your background on your phone.
No, this is the big. So last time I was here, 2016, it was just me and my wife, and now I've got a little one, 10 months old, and doing this job and being away from them, it's not great. So that's I've seen him one day this month, so in about 6 days time I'll be back home, and so it's definitely changes how you think about touring and just what you're going to do going forward, because you want to somehow do your job and see them at the same time. So
to a point, does it make you not want to do Edinburgh again? Could you imagine another year up here with being away from your family? Or
well, you just have to start going, right, next year I'm going to try and get a bigger flat, and then they come for longer, and then you turn it more into a holiday, and you're not out seeing as many shows, you're in the daytime in the park on the swings kind of thing.
Very
with
nice.
The kid, not just not
not just you by yourself. Not in the park on the swings. This is your second Fringe, right? Unless I did look, I couldn't see you'd ever done anything in the past.
Second Fringe.
Tell me about your first Fringe.
So first Fringe was 2016. It was called Trickhead.
Interesting.
Yeah.
TV show came out
a couple
of days ago called Trickheads.
It did, yeah. Anyway, it's fun. So I did a show called Trickhead, and it was basically a show with 8 or 9 tricks in that was just me doing tricks, really. And for my first show, I wanted to come up with a show that was 8 or 9 items that I was happy with, that I could then break down and do elsewhere on telly or in other shows or whatever I wanted to do. So all of those things were pieces that I'd come up with that were my twists or stories or anecdotes weaved into magic, really. That was that one. So and it did really well. It was good.
A lot of acts, when they start the Fringe, they start on the free Fringe, or they start in a venue that's kind of, a bit off the beaten track. You immediately came in with a promoter and went into a good venue. How did you do that?
Yeah, so it was a lovely venue for magic. It's the King Dome, which is part of the Pleasance, and it's something I'd seen Firman do years ago. I'd seen Chris Cox do it years ago. I'm guessing Ali Cook's probably been there in the past. It's a real great magic space. It's nice rate seating, nice big stage, 180 seater. And I came in with Live Nation, my promoter, that said, well, let's just, if that's the room you like, let's do it and try and sell tickets, and we did, so it was nice.
So how did you get in with a promoter like that? Was that based off the fact you'd had a TV show on ITV2? Or?
Yeah, so it was basically, whilst, anyone will tell you, comedians exactly the same, you use telly to try and sell tickets. That's kind of usually the guy. I mean, look at the best example of that is Dynamo. He sat on a live tour for years and then just went big and did an arena tour. So that was something I've always had in the pipeline, and I just thought, well, let's go up here, do some shows, and then I can choose to tour it if I want after that, or if not, I've still got live material to use.
Good. It's interesting you mentioned that you knew who had been in those rooms before. So had you been coming to the Fringe as a fan in previous years?
Been a few times. I mean, I do think every magic fan should come up here and watch. I mean, it's a place you can watch 10 magic shows in 24 hours or more, or just go and see loads of other stuff. So it's a place that I've always loved, and it was it's got to be the right time and the right moment to do it, really. So that was then, and back again.
So that first year when you came up, what was your intention? Why did you decide to do it?
So the goal then was to have deliberately, a bit like a lot of stand-ups, they want chunks of material that they could break down and do in 5-minute slots, 10-minute slots. I could do live at the Palladium, which then happened after that, and a few other things. So it was having material that could be broken down at the end of it and not just in the context of a show, if that makes sense. And that was that. And then possibly if the TV thing spiked and we wanted to go on tour, well, I've already got 45-50 minutes of material ready to go. So it was just lining things up, really. And I've been using that material for the last two years. Yeah. And now it's ready to put some new material into my act. So, yeah.
Interesting, around that time, 2 years ago, was, forgive me because I have lost track of time a little bit, but there was also this interesting thing that happened, that you were involved in The Illusionists in the West End for a short period of time.
Happened, what was that now? Was that 2016 or 15? One of those years, I think. I think it might have been this year before. Yeah, I did. The Illusionists came for 8 weeks at the West End, and I did the first 2 weeks. Yeah.
How did that come about? And
again, I did a show, I don't know what I was talking about when we were on the podcast. I did a show called Band of Magicians out in New Zealand with James Galea and my mind is literally blank, I'm tired, and Brett Loudermilk and Adam Marder at the time. And at the same time I was doing that gang show, we were in talks with the Illusionists, and it just came about that they said, we want you in the show, but we've already booked our lineup, so can you just come on for the first 2 weeks and be a bit of a guest spot, really? So I got to do that. It was nice.
What were you actually doing then? So you were doing a pre-show or during
I was
the show,
doing a hidden camera prank every night to live audience members. Right. So before the show started, I would be undercover as the theatre manager, and I'd pull people out of their seats, pull them to a side room that we had rigged with cameras, and I basically told them they were too drunk to watch the show tonight. And I ripped up their tickets in front of them, and then they kicked off at me because they're like, "Oh, you've not had a drink." It was brilliant, literally just winding people up. And then I'd magically restore the ticket, or I'd magically pull a pint out of their jacket. And then in the first half of the show, I'd furiously edit that and get the video ready, and it'd be like a montage of a load of people, and then we'd play that at the start of the second half, and I'd say, well, these 5 or 6 people have already seen some magic before the show started, and they'd get a massive round of applause.
So how come you only did the first 2 weeks?
Because it was just an add-on for them. It was a bit of kind of, they just said, well, do you want, I didn't want to commit to 8 weeks, so we just decided, and also like editing, like before the show started, I have no content, I've got no tricks.
Oh, so you literally were doing the edit and bits and pieces?
Yeah, I literally would run up, the show would start at 7:30, I'd run to my dressing room, and I'd had exactly 46 minutes to get that footage, edit it, and get it on a hard drive ready for the second half.
Wow.
So it was like stressful every night. It was like a military operation. So wouldn't really want to do that for 100 odd shows.
Yeah, sure.
But it was fun to do, and it shows that it can work as a concept.
Just this morning, spoken to Pete Firman, who's enjoying his 11th Edinburgh Fringe, and you're up here doing your second. You both did one thing at the same time, which was you both took last year off.
Oh yeah, that wasn't discussed. We didn't have a chat about it.
No, I just coincidence obviously, but I asked Pete about his break for a year. Momentum is quite important here in Edinburgh for a lot of acts.
It is.
How come you weren't here last year?
Well, yeah, I mean, what you've hit the nail. If you want to do Edinburgh very well, momentum is key. So I think Colin Cloud is a great example of that. He went from like a 150 seater to a 200, and then to like an 850 seater within like the space of 3 years. So the Edinburgh crowd does want that. For me, it wasn't really part of my goal. I'm not just looking to be big in Edinburgh. There's other things going on, and I didn't feel like I wanted to do a new hour last year. I had a baby in September, so being away all of August with an 8-month pregnant wife probably wasn't the best. Probably wouldn't still be married if I'd have done that. So yeah, it just wasn't right for me. So I actually think even now, I don't even think I'll come next year. I don't feel I have to come next year. I'll come maybe the year after, because for what I'm doing, churning out a new hour every other year is right for me.
Yeah, sure. So when we spoke a few years ago, that was sort of right in the middle of Tricked, the ITV2 show.
Yep.
How many series did you make? Just 3?
3 of them and a Halloween special.
A Halloween special. And so can you talk to us a little bit about the end of that show, how the end came about?
Yeah, so the end came about because, quite interestingly in telly, the channel that I started on, it's the same channel, ITV2, changed as a channel. And it's actually, in the last 4 or 5 years, it's really hard to get 18 to 25-year-olds to sit down at Tuesday at 9 o'clock at a set appointment. and my show wasn't really helping that. Whereas you look at shows like Love Island, which are almost as close to sport as you can get, which is you need to watch it then and there. So the channel changed, what they needed changed, and we'd done it. I'd done 6 hours a series, so I'd done 18 hours and a Halloween, done 19 hours of it. So it was a chance to put that to bed and start looking at other opportunities, really.
And you strike me as someone who really has their finger on the pulse with what's going on in TV land.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying at the time you were even going to start a production company. What do you think of the magic on TV these days, and do you see any opportunities for it? Is it in a bit of a rut at the moment because they've tried so many different things?
Yeah, we all knew it was coming. Everything's cyclical. It was in a boom 3 or so years ago, and it's that thing. It's how do TV commissioners make any TV show that makes people have to watch it then and there? And magic, you can miss it, really, let's be honest. And actually, arguably, is magic best online? Is it best broken down into 5-minute chunks, and then you can handpick when and where you watch it? So that's something to consider. I think magic will always have a place on TV, because I think, for me, I still think the best place for magic is that family viewing, that early evening slot where a 7-year-old and a 70-year-old can, from any language all over the world, can all watch magic. So I still think it will always have a home somewhere. It's just working out what that next twist is, really.
Yeah. I spoke to someone, and I'm so sorry, it might have been Ben actually, but the last 24 hours of all these interviews have been a little bit... but someone has said to me over the last 24 hours that one of the things that TV commissioners are quite scared of is making a show that's all about one talent. You did that, though. You pulled that off. You got your own show. Most magic shows that come around now, they want 3 or 4 or 5 magicians on it. You got your own show with Tricked. Do you agree, though, that TV commissioners are now perhaps a bit scared to make a show with one person, unless you're Darren or Dynamo?
Yeah, I think they're scared, regardless of being a magician, they're scared to put anything. If I was a chef and no one had really heard of me, that would be a ballsy commission, regardless of what's the out product, whether you're a magician. So there's always that, which is why, basically, every commissioner wants to spend, they're spending plus part of £1 million. They want to work out what's the lowest risk for them. So the more certainties they have, so if they know it's somebody like Gordon Ramsay, they know people are going to watch that. If they know it's got, any big Michael Bublé or Michael McIntyre or whatever big name they can attach, limits their risk. So the key is they want a magician who's a massive name, but you can't get that. It's like a chicken and egg, really. Dynamo has got that, Darren has got that, but the next generation up, they almost need to take a punt before you can get to that level. Or what you do is you come up with a hybrid show where there are bigger names in it, like a Michael McIntyre, but you can have magic exist in that space somewhere. So that's where they're aware that magic doesn't appeal to everyone. So if you can have a show with more strands in it, you're appealing to more people.
So,
but my point by the way, quickly on gang shows.
Yes.
I can say this. I've never actually particularly liked the format of a gang show, because I think what Dynamo showed when he came out was that people got to know him as a person and they got to like him, and I think it's really hard to cut through anyway in telly, and I think when there's 4 of you competing for 23 minutes of airtime, it's really hard to get to know or like any of them because they just don't have the time. So I really think that one of the reasons why Dynamo is so successful is because people got to spend so much time with him on screen. Anyway, sorry.
You look like the kind of magician who has a 5-year plan. Do you have a 5-year plan?
You love a 5-year plan question,
don't
don't you?
Like, the way Ben said, I thought it was really interesting. He said that for now, TV magic can't be part of his career.
Right.
Planning, because it's all out of his control.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way with that, or do you just over the last couple of years have you just been plugging away to get back on TV? Or
yeah, we've so since not doing, it's interesting as well. Sometimes you think, and it kind of was the case a few years ago, that you think having your own show is the best thing you can do on TV, but it's not really, because you'd rather be a smaller part on a bigger show than 100% on a show on a digital channel that maybe people aren't watching as much of. So that's where I'm starting to think is actually, even though it sounds nice that you've got your own show, when it comes to eyeballs watching you and selling tickets at the end of it, actually I'd rather be popping up on other things. So that's kind of the plan now. And then all the work I've been doing here at Edinburgh in the last one, we'll then do a UK tour. and and then that'll all kind of feed back into itself.
So have I got myself an exclusive here? Are you telling me you're going to do a tour?
It's not official, but at some point there will be a tour.
There
will be a tour.
And is it going to be called Trickhead or 50 Tricks?
Well, I don't think it'll be called Trickhead now because there's been a TV show about that. I don't know what it'll be.
It could be a lawsuit or something. That could be.
I
could get that exclusive. Maybe you could tell me you're suing somebody.
No, nobody cares, do they? They just watch magic. That's
they do,
really.
So, any idea when that tour might happen, or is it just?
No, not yet. It's something I'm thinking about with this show actually. So the concept of this show that I'm doing now is called 50, where I'm doing 50 magic tricks in 50 minutes, which
sounds like a bloody nightmare.
The audience are loving it. I'm slowly dying.
You told me that you've been, before we pressed record, that basically you've spent the last month fixing things.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that. I mean, my show's on at 7. I start setting up at 5 and I get out at 9. So yeah, it's one of those bonkers things. It's been great. I mean, what it was an interesting thought process with that. It was my last show had 8 tricks, and I sat around and thought, what is the opposite of my last show? The opposite of 8 is like 50. I know it's not. Some people go, that's not the opposite.
I'm not a mathematician, so I'm not going to double check.
But you know what I'm saying. My point is, instead of having just items that are 4 or 5 minutes long, what would happen if only the show had items that were 1 minute long? How would that work? So that was the starting point, and this is what's come out of it.
Be honest, are you regretting that idea?
Do you know what? I'm not, because the audience are seeing 50 tricks, and they are like literally they're seeing a water torture escape. They're seeing a homage to Paul Daniels. They're seeing a phone call prediction thing. They're seeing literally loads of stuff. They're seeing a bit of hypnosis. They're seeing everything. So, and at the end of it, I can then choose if I want to slow any of that material down and for other things. But it's actually really fun. And also, I'm someone who gets really bored very easily in a show as a viewer. So it's cut all the faff out. Like I do my water torture in about 3 minutes, whereas that would be like 12 minutes in anyone's show. Yeah. So it's trying to make a show that's all filler. All filler? All filler? No.
It's all filler.
It's all filler, which is like my last show. It's all filler.
All filler.
Zero killer.
Zero.
That's what I'm trying to do. But
what
the
a quote that is.
There we go.
So pleased we got that the wrong way around.
I know, you're definitely going to edit that bit out when I say, we're making a show that's all killer and no filler. No, you're not. You're going to keep it in. Okay.
Oh, that's fantastic. So where did you find these 50 tricks?
It was literally
second-hand Facebook groups.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
I have been checking Magic Week and second-hand Facebook groups. I've been contacted. I've been buying illusions. I bought a bloody illusion. That if you want to buy an illusion, I've got one.
I've got a few myself.
Yeah. We don't even do it in the show.
What have you bought?
I bought an impassable. You know, it's like a flight case.
Yes.
So it looks great. It's a flight case. Your cloth gets lifted up, cloth gets dropped, and you're then inside the flight case, even though the flight case is padlocked, in apparently a very unbelievable quick time, like a sub trunk basically. I can't do it quick enough because the box is too tiny. So I've got a £500 prop under the stage, which we're not even using.
Oh, you've been done, mate.
Been done. Do you know what? These illusions are expensive.
They are, man. No one realises.
Yeah.
I dread to think how much we've spent on them over the years.
Yeah.
Also maintenance as well. Because now we've got like 11 in the show. There's constant maintenance needed. It's very expensive. Tell me about the homage to Paul Daniels. That's a nice idea.
So what it is, so basically in this show 50, I thought I had to include the oldest trick in the world. We all know that's cups and balls. That's the kind of the story. And I just thought, do you know what? I'm not going to better Daniels' version. And I'm not going to try to. So what I do in the show is I tell the audience that, and I say how much of a legend he is, and then I say, well, if he was here now, it would sound something like this, and I play his audio, and I mime being Daniels to his audio.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'm doing it beat for beat, the 1 cup, 1 ball routine, which is one of the best tricks in the world, isn't it? I mean, his version is brilliant. And I'm literally miming, pretending to be Daniels. And I make the lemon appear, make the orange appear, and the 5th night of the show, Debbie McGee was in.
Wow.
And she texted me and went, can I have to show? So I was like, yeah, come on. And I texted her back and went, I've got to let you know that tonight I'm doing this thing about you're obviously about Paul. And I'm more nervous than any trick I've ever done in my life. My hands were shaking because she's seen that for 30 years. She's seen him do it, the best person do it. I mean, I probably butchered it, you know. So it was that was a bit of a moment.
Did you speak to her afterwards? You know what she
I dropped her a text and she said, yeah, thanks, it was great. I mean, that same night, this is an exclusive. So that same night I do a water torture escape where I plunge my head into a fish tank and I get locked into it. I couldn't get out of it.
Brilliant.
Genuinely couldn't get out of it. We run in, spare key, get me out. In the panic of that, I drop the tank off the table, it falls off the table, smashes on the stage, and there's like 30 litres of water everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
And
I
I'm
wish
like,
I'd have been in that.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's why escapologists probably just do that only trick in the show.
Wow.
But it's hard, isn't it, escaping from water?
No, it really is. That sounds amazing. So I've been asking everyone the same couple of questions, which I'll be asking you.
Yeah. How much money do you earn? Do you ask that one still, Richard? You love that question.
I am one of those questions. Is that, yeah. How much money do you earn? But I'm asking everybody: are you making money or losing money at Edinburgh?
Oh, I don't know. I think I'm selling well, but losing money probably.
Right.
Because I've got higher costs than I've ever had. Because I've spent $5 or $6 grand on props this year. So I'm probably selling quite well, but losing money. And the reason being is I've got more props than ever. So I've spent about $6 grand on props, and I've got a director that comes at a cost that I haven't had before, but it's the best money I've ever spent. It's
Really?
Brilliant.
Who's directing you?
So yeah, he's a guy called Rowan Acharya. He's on my flyers and stuff. He's a comedy guy originally. He's done loads of like 20th Edinburgh, but it was brilliant. Have you worked with the director on your shows? I mean, I can just like kind of politely vomit all over him, like just ideas, and just go, here's ideas, and he can just be the filter and take all of the noise and just put it into a show, and it's been unbelievable.
Yeah. And the other question I've been asking is this: why are you here this year? Is that it was there as you arrived here on August the 1st or the end of July, whenever it was? What is the goal this year?
So the goal is the simplest goal is to be better on the 1st of September as a magician than you were on the 1st of August, which just by doing 30 shows you will be. Again, all of this material can be broken down and used for the next few years as part of other shows or other things I want to do. But the main goal was to see if the concept of telling the audience that they will see 50 great tricks in one show is something that could then be taken and expanded after Edinburgh.
Do you mean into a TV show?
No, not into a TV show, into a live show.
Right.
Because I think it's a nice, easy format to understand. If you sit down in this show, by the end of it, you will have witnessed 50 great tricks. That for me is a nice, simple. There's something that I, as a viewer, go, yeah, I can get on board with that. And now it's figuring out. Now that I know I can do it within 50 minutes, what do I want to do with it after, and where can it go? So that's still something that we're planning with. But that might be something. It'd be a fun tour to do. I think it would be a fun place to have a residency in London for a few weeks doing. So we'll see what happens with it, really.
Ben, it's been great to catch up with you, man.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it. So pleased you're having a good time, and thanks for being back on the Magicians Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Harry de Cruz is up here enjoying his very first Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and he's going down a storm, as you heard Alan talk about at the very beginning. I sat down and chatted to him about his new show. Harry de Cruz gets his act together. So I'm sat here with the man himself who has made his Edinburgh Fringe debut this year. Harry de Cruz, welcome back to the Magicians Podcast.
Hello, it's good to be back.
It's good to have you on, my friend. So here we are, coming to the end of your first Fringe now. You've got 3 days left? Is that right?
3 or 4. Thursday, Friday. Some 4 days. 4 days.
4 days left. So just tell me right now your emotions. How do you feel about how has it gone? Have you enjoyed it? Tell me everything.
How do I feel right now at the end? I feel I would love it to carry on for an extra week because it's gone a bit too quickly. Each day goes on and on and on. The whole month goes really quickly, and I think my learning curve, it's been incredible. It's incredible what I've learned, and I'm now at a stage where I'm like, right, now I'm making little tweaks. So I'd love those little tweaks to be even more honed. So for me, I would love it to go on an extra week, but I think it's good for me to start taking it elsewhere and progressing, and it's gone a lot better than I thought it would. I'm very happy with it. I've got some mixed feelings about where I'm going to go with it next. I'm very proud of what I've brought up, and it's not been as much of a roller coaster than I thought it was. I've heard from a lot of people I think I've had a lucky year, and not unlucky in the sense of hasn't been as emotionally challenging as I think for other people. I've not been as lonely. I've had people visiting.
So for those who don't know, tell us about the show. Harry de Cruz gets his act together. Tell us tell us the premise of the show, and then tell us sort of where the ideas for it came from, the idea of its format.
The premise, well, actually, I'll start at the beginning. The show is called Harry the Cruz Gets His Act Together because I had this idea where I would do a show where I'd perform a piece of magic at the last 10 minutes of the show, and I would show you everything I had to learn to get to that stage. So Harry the Cruz gets his act together, and I did a preview, and everyone hated the ending. But the thing I found interesting were the skills that I show and what I learned and how I learned them. So then I just went completely, just took the true reason about why I learnt the skills I've learned and told that narrative, which is, like most people as a young magician, is about impressing a girl.
This is a love story. This is well, it's not a magic show. It'd be unfair to call it a magic show, but of course magic is a huge part of it and of you as a performer. But this is a love story.
Yes. Yeah, I'm telling the story about impressing a girl and then the ups and downs of that, and then does she come back into my life and all that sort of stuff, and the reasons I learned everything I learned for her.
It's amazing. So, do you want to talk a bit about the actual content of the show? Because like you said, it's not really magic, is it?
It's not. It's skill based. So it's, I could do a book test, but I'm more open about the idea. And most magicians are open about the idea of I've memorised this book, so I've taken that down into a different avenue where I can prove that it's a memory sort of thing. And I do a bit of juggling. I do a hoop and glass inspired by Caveney. The big wooden hoop with the glass in the middle, and you throw it around. I do some memorisation work with the deck of cards. I play the human 20 questions. I've been learning to become like a human 20 questions machine, where you can think of a celebrity and I can work out who it is. And then the finale is a kind of a montage of loads and loads of party tricks and skills, all with the audience involved for the last sort of 5-10 minutes. All with the thread of what happens. But it's skill based. That's what I loved about my favourite magician in the world is Darren Brown. And for me, which we all know listening as magicians, how he's managed to reframe magic. And I'm a big fan of other escapologists who use magic method, or I'm a fan of, or Aaron Crow, for example, who the public would have no clue, the method that goes into his incredible skill-based effects, and that's what I'm a big fan of. So that's where that came from too.
And Alan said it at the very beginning of this podcast, how impressed he was with your show. I was super, super impressed. I've just seen it today for the second time. I saw it 2 weeks ago, and I've seen how much you guys have worked on it over the last few weeks, and it's even better now than it was then. A hell of a lot of work's gone into it. You must be over the moon with the response that it's had, right? I mean, just to come, I said this to Alan at the beginning, just to come to the Fringe first time round is a very brave thing to do, and really you just want to get through it. But you're going down a storm. Everyone who's seen your show is saying they love it. Is it what you expected, or was the response far beyond sort of what you imagined?
Far beyond. I was very, very nervous. Every time I've had friends in, I've been very, very nervous about what they think of it. Not just because they're magicians and they might know how it's done, or it might go wrong in front of them, but because I do really respect their opinions. To have their opinions be, to admire the show. Piff came and saw it, and I was very grateful for his comments. He's done so well, and, very good in the comedy career and stuff. So for him to say my show's funny means a lot to me. And same with Hudson and all those people who I think have a similar outlook on magic and modern magic and comedy and magic. It was amazing to have them say that to me. Yeah.
It's really good. So talk us through. It's your first ever Fringe. What were you expecting? Now you're at the end of it. Is for anyone who's ever thinking about coming up here and doing a year, have you made any mistakes? Do you think in year one? Are there any things you wish you'd played a little bit different? Are there things you think you've really hit on the head, and advice you'd want to share for anyone thinking about coming up?
One of the things I had realised, so a very, very good friend of mine who does social media accounts for celebs and other brands, I had a little meeting with him before he came up and was like, right, what could I do? What could I do for my show? And we really struggled to come up with social media ideas. And not that my show hasn't got much content to talk about, but there's nothing really cutting on social media, which I feel is a big part of modern advertising, of course. And so I have realised that if I was to do another show, I would keep that in mind from writing the show day one. How can I brand it better? I still struggle, even you would have heard me here, struggling to talk about how to describe a show in one sentence, or how I can use it, how I can advertise it in one image or one tagline. So that's something I've definitely learned, is the branding of a show, which is very hard. One of the hardest things as well is that you have to submit your Edinburgh show title, and then also, very, very early on, to get into the programme, and with a blurb, which is why so many magicians have, so-and-so, one word, wonder, or whatever, like in whatever the title must be, because you don't know what the show is in February when you have to submit. So, so if you can work far enough in ahead to know what your show is. I'm not overly happy with my flyer. Design's amazing, but the content of what I said, Martin Rowland, who made it, Gigio, so I can't slag it off. No, the design's very happy with, but the content of what I wrote is very generic, and I wish I knew what my show was earlier on to be able to sell it better to people reading it. And also the photo shoot. I had a photo shoot at the start of the year when I thought I knew what my show was, and half of that photo shoot was all with that theme in mind. It didn't happen, so my flyer picture is very generic. It doesn't really sum up the show as much. So if I was to do the show again, I would have a redesign and another photo shoot to sum up this show better. So it sounds silly, but if you can be prepared as much as possible in advance, yes, that's what I feel like I did. I haven't paid for any advertising this year. Haven't got any big posters or anything else. I've literally just gone through flyers, which I feel has been an amazing experience. Just, seeing different placements around Edinburgh, those people, getting rid of some and getting new people in, what they say, how they say it, where they're placed, how many you have. It's all been a massive roller coaster.
We even had a slight issue that in the building where your show is, there's a magic show downstairs, starts at exactly the same time. People coming into the building weren't really sure where they were going. No one's fault, but people are like lemmings and they follow people into the wrong room, and all these things that you don't pick up on in the first few days. You literally have to check the experience your audience is having, right, to make sure that they're having the experience actually you intended for them to have right from when they walk in the door. Yeah,
from day one. I'm very lucky. That was an issue at the start, and doing this Fringe, you realise there's so much more to a show than just putting on that show and the flyers and stuff. As I said, the social media or the experience. Like, very lucky my venue is a cocktail bar, and one of the popular cocktail bars in Edinburgh, so they get to come in early on and have a cocktail as well, and what that experience is like for them. And the room, the chairs they're sitting on, everything, you think so much more about it. So I've learned so much more kind of details to think about.
Let's talk about some of the content of the show. There are some amazing skills that you've learnt they're in there. Obviously, we don't want to give away everything that's in the show, but have all the tricks that are in the show, which has been the most difficult one to actually learn in reality as opposed to the world of illusion that exists within?
Right. The hoop and glass has been... It's a juggling feat. You are actually learning a skill. There are elements of it that just use centripetal force and that keeps it within the hoop, but there are actually juggling skills to it. So that's sort of tested me the most. Memory, I do quite a few things with memory in the show, such as like learning the 50 US states. I didn't think English audiences would find that very impressive, so I also started to learn every single existing Cadbury's chocolate bar on sale.
Oh, right, really?
So that's also, I'm working on that because I thought I'd learn a very British thing too. That's not made it into the show yet because there's like 80 on sale at the moment, and they're all the same name and different. So anyway,
so what do you want to do with this afterwards? Now, are you going to throw it in the bin and start with a fresh page again and come back next year with a brand new show, or what do you think?
That's only coming to my mind the last week or so. Like, now it's coming towards the end. I only came up with two aims. One is to get me on stage. I've never been on stage before. I've only ever done close up, and I've got a lot of knowledge about stage from working with so many magicians, and being their techs and stuff for so many years. Working with Dynamo on his arena tour, and then teching for like you and Hudson, as mentioned in previous. And so I've got so putting that into process. So it's getting me on stage, getting to know who I was as a performer, because my biggest worry was that I was going to be. It sounds cocky if I say I'm likeable, but my biggest worry was that people were just going to go like, well, he's a bit unlikable, a bit too cocky on stage, and I think you can change that, you can alter that, but I think it's an extension of you which you have to be aware of, and you can only find that out from being on stage a few times. So that was one thing, getting me on stage. And the other thing was being able to go back to London with material that I can show to cabaret producers and also to clients.
Yeah.
One of the things that Noel Britton talked about in the ComCom podcast, if you've listened to it, where he talks about he honed his set outside of London. So then when he came into London, everyone thought he was a newcomer, but he had honed material, and I kind of wanted to do that, similar with things, stage stuff within London cabaret scene. Said no to a lot of stage opportunities until this. So that's the only reason I came up. I didn't expect really to come to leave with an actual show. So the fact is now a show, I'd like to bring it back to London. I'd like to do that. I kind of feel maybe I could take it to other fringes. I've not really thought about what I can do with it. Or the character I've built, because I'm not, as you said, I'm not a magician. I'm like this king of party tricks, skills man. So I don't know if that will allow me to. Is that a dead end character? Like, can I expand on that, or do I have to go back to being a magician and writing a new show? It's all very new. I think over the next year I'll be able to tell where that will take me.
You've had some really interesting people come and see your show over the last couple of weeks, and I think the thing that I've heard repeatedly from everyone is obviously they enjoy the show, but they've been saying how you're just immediately very likeable and warm and all the rest of it. That must be good to hear, right? Because that's something that if you don't naturally have that sort of performer, you may never be able to learn it, or it's certainly going to take a long time.
Yeah, I've been told through the audience who my character is and how they respond to me. I had a tweet, one of my favourite tweets of the Fringe so far, which you've heard. You told me I should mention it in the show, which I've done. The tweet reads, first bit sounds braggy, but I'll read you. Top tip, at Harry the Cruz is well worth a watch of at Edinburgh Fringe. A charming young man with an original and cheering act, but a warning to women of a certain age, you'll want to mother him. Which is a great tweet to receive, because it tells me, oh, that's how women of a certain age or whatever see me, and it's good to be aware of that. So do I, to be told that, do I want to change that? Do I want them to see me in that way? Or, you know, how do the dads then see me? How do the lads and how do the girls see me, and all that kind of stuff. And it's good to be told they see you in that way. Good thing, but the only thing about this tweet is Rory Adams then retweeted it with he removed all the words after the word women, so now it reads, a charming young man with an original and cheering act, but a warning to women. So, thanks, Rory.
That's hilarious. And that's a real tweet as well.
Real tweet, yeah.
That's amazing. So can we talk about a few of the people who have helped you with this show? Because it's quite clear to me, you know, obviously you're brilliant, the Cruz, but there's been some fucking help here.
There's been a lot of help. Yeah, it's not my show. It's every line's read by someone else. No, it's there's been loads of people who've helped me here and there with lines and tweaks and advice. I've had so much advice from other people, which I'm so grateful for. I would say there's three major people at different stages. So James Friedman massively helped me. Like a year or two ago, when I decided when I wanted to do the Fringe. In fact, you know, when I did your podcast first a couple of years ago, he said to me, "Say you're going to do the Fringe," because it was cemented in, right? So ever since then, he's been making me ask myself the right questions about who my character is, why my character is that way, why do I dislike certain things, and he's also taught me massively about framing, the fact that you can take any trick and frame it for a skill. So he's changed the way I think about writing and me as a performer massively. So I'm very grateful for him. Peter Antonio, who is a psychic comedian but also a very, very good performer and writer, has helped me write most of the show. A lot of the ideas have come from me, but the actual structure was massively helpful from him. He's also so funny, so funny. And then Edward Hilsom has directed it essentially, and his company Love Variety have produced it and helped me bring it up here. But he was the one who's turned me, I think, into a performer. He's had so many years of advice and experience as a stage performer. He's the one telling me where to stand, how to pose for at the right points, always looking like there's a photographer pointing at you, the lighting, the sound, how you greet people. He's turned me into a performer, which I'm very, very grateful for. Because at the start, when you would have seen it, I was not aware of how to stand or how to pose or how to look at the audience. I catch the glass from the hoop and glass and just drink it straight away and not think, look at the audience, take the applause in, don't step on the applause. So yeah, he's been a huge help. I'm very grateful for him.
Ed was up here for the first 2 weeks.
He was up here for the first 2 weeks, yeah.
He was giving you notes every day.
Every day giving me notes. Videoing it every day of myself, which I've carried on doing, videoing every day, going back home, watching it, making those notes, listening to the audience. And that's one of the best things actually about the Free Fringe is even if you video the audience, they can tell you. But the bucket, the way the Free Fringe works before... Have you spoken to anyone to the Free Fringe?
Have I spoken to anyone? I did the Free Fringe for 4 years.
Have you spoken to anyone this podcast? Do the audience know what the Free Fringe is?
The other 5 guests have all got they've all got proper shows. So
yeah, they've all yeah. The way the Free Fringe works is that the venues give the performers the venue for free, the room for free, because they are usually a bar and they earn their money from people buying drinks, which gives us performers a chance to actually potentially make some money or not make as much of a hit, because usually a venue will charge about sort of 20%, or you have to pay 20% for it, and you end up giving about 20% split. So that's often why performers need 40% room fill before they even start making any money possibly. Or so that's how the Free Fringe works. And the Free Fringe works on a donation system where you give what you feel the show is worth. So what's great about this is you get to see the bucket reflect the show, right? And you can see if they enjoyed it more or less, because you can work out average per head, and then also the denomination of the note they put in, denomination they put in also tells you. I know it can vary, but like when you go, I've got a lot more 20s this day than another day, and the wording I changed in my bucket speech was particularly hinting towards a 20. That must have worked. Or less coins one day, and you go, well, so I had an older crowd this day, I had more students in that day, and I got more coins. And that's really interesting to see that audience change and how it reflects, and so that's been very useful to me.
Do you know what, just going back to what you said, we should pay some or notice something that's happened, and that is that Edward directed James Friedman's Man of Steel show a couple of years ago, or a few years ago. There's a Free Fringe show that went from the Free Fringe to the West End.
Yes.
He has also directed your show, which has far surpassed people's expectations. There's a common denominator with both shows, actually, which is Edward.
Yeah,
so,
massively.
He's got some real talent there in terms of directing and staging magic. So,
yeah, he's a hidden gem.
That's amazing. So, are you making money or losing money up here?
Losing.
You're losing money.
Well, I would say, from looking at my current accounts, I would say I'm potentially losing.
It's incredible as well. The Free Fringe has changed. You can take card payment now at the bucket.
Yes, card payment massively helped.
That's amazing. That didn't exist when we were here.
Yeah, using iZettle or Square and those kind of things, taking card payment massively. And I'm getting 5, 10, 15. I've had more, but that's been lovely, because if you think about it, someone's even just giving you a £5 on card, they probably would have only had a couple of pound coins, and they want to make sure they offer you more, which is really lovely to have. Or they've only got 20 and they don't want to give a 20. But I would say losing, but it's not a loss to me. I consider the Fringe this year as like my university years, and people go to uni and go into debt or they lose money, but you come out with knowledge and experience to help you further your career. So that's what this is. It's an investment. And if I lose a couple of grand, then that to me is going, well, I haven't lost it. I've spent a couple of grand getting myself an hour's show, honed, ready to take back to London or to offer to a client and charge more for it. So it's not really a loss. And also mostly because of the housing fortune up here is really, and flyers. I wanted to play a flyer as a good rate, so they do a good job for you. They know you don't want to fire them and that kind of thing, because you could charge less, and there are ways of doing it cheaper and ways of doing it more expensive. I think I've found a good middle ground.
You've been sharing a flat with Tom Crosby.
I have, who's also been an incredible source of inspiration, assistance, help, and he's been great.
So Harry and Tom Crosby have been sharing a flat here. Thanks for the free accommodation.
You're welcome.
And to be fair, you did owe me, because for 4 years you came and slept on my sofa at the Fringe. Tom's got an amazing show. He's on before you in the afternoon. If you get a chance to see Tom Crosby do a spot anytime soon, or he's at a convention or something, go and see it. It's absolutely brilliant. And if I do ever do another podcast series, I'll definitely have Tom on, because he does some amazing stuff.
As we spoke about earlier, using, presenting things as a skill. Actually, he's not doing any secret magic as a skill. He genuinely is incredibly talented at a Rubik's Cube, and general nerdy facts. His performing persona, he's the performing nerd, and it's an incredible show, a very smart show, and you learn a lot. And I've been sharing all he's got a fact for everything. You can name him any person, celebrity, or little thing in the world, and he's got a fact for it. And every show I'm watching it because I'm setting up for my show, and I've been sharing it with everyone I meet. I go, oh, do you know the thing about Shakespeare I learned from Tom?
Yeah.
And he's great.
Will you be back next year?
I would like to be, yes. It depends on what's happening with other work elsewhere.
You're still working for Dynamo?
I am still working for him. So yeah, depending on what's happening where we are and what we're doing, that will affect it. I would like to be back because I've just loved it up here. And I think when you're back regularly, it helps snowball. He's back again, and you can sell it as a sell-out show from last year, whatever you want to say. That does help. What I bring here, I don't know. Do I try and hone this show and bring it back, or do I try and write a new show format?
I find this. So this is just my opinion. I find it absolutely insane that magicians write a wonderful show, work really, really hard on it, come up to the Fringe, and maybe 2,000 people see it, and then they bin it and start again. I just find that crazy. It's amazing if you enjoy the process of writing new tricks and new material. Then it's impressive, but over the years I've seen so many wonderful shows up here that they did 20 shows up here and that was it, and you never saw them again. There's so much wonderful work that gets lost every year, because the magicians decide to follow what the comedians do, which is every year come back with a new
hour,
new load of material. It's just my opinion. I
think hearing you say that today, while I was talking about what I'm doing next, has massively made me think about the idea of just honing an act and be able to take that elsewhere. Do I look to take this current act to other fringes around the world, or hone it here for a couple of years and then take it out, and you've got an even more improved act? And I can see why magicians want to write more, especially for a new show, because you feel like you're scared that maybe someone else, so you're not going to get new people coming back, you're going to get the same people. So will they be disappointed they see the same show? But also the creative process has been a lot of fun. It's been hard, but it's been a lot of fun challenging yourself with that, especially if you have a character like myself or Tom or someone which has a skill or something. You can't just buy another magic trick from another magic shop. That process is very challenging and a lot of fun if you're into that.
Well, listen, well done.
Thank you very
Absolutely
much.
Superb. One of the best first years up here I've ever seen.
Thank you.
You should be very proud of what you've done. And if you do take the show down south or anywhere else, then let everyone know about it. If you get a chance to see Harry's show, you won't regret it. So thanks for coming back to the Magicians podcast.
Thank you so
great
much.
to have you back on, just like everybody else.
Thank you, Young.
It's time to talk to the wonderful John Lenahan, who is performing at Just the Tonic in a show called Loud and Louder with his niece, and he's also doing a free close-up show too. Here we go. So I'm sat here with John Lenahan from Stuff the White Rabbit.
Yeah.
Here he is. Good to be sat with him again.
Stuff the White Rabbit. Not enough people remember that.
It was a good show.
Actually, a guy came up to me in a queue, and he remembered a trick I did on TGI Fridays.
TFI Fridays.
TFI Fridays.
Right, and also, I just got to tell you this. I just listened back to the episode you and I recorded a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And you called it TGI Fridays in that episode.
Well, TGI Fridays is the restaurant, yeah, right. And TFI was the name of the show that we weren't allowed to say what the real name of the show was.
Yeah.
But actually, I did a trick on that show. I was quite proud of it. Do you remember Video Plus codes? You're probably not too...
No, I do remember
you
that.
Remember them.
It was in the TV guide. If you wanted to record something, rather than setting a timer, you could just put in like an 8-10 digit
You just
code.
put the number in, and I did a card trick where a whole bunch of cards ended up on the table. It says a real straight flush, and it was all a bit of a mess. And then I said, oh no, it's my Video Plus code.
Ah.
To watch Stuff the White Rabbit. But anyway, A guy remembered that. That was really weird. But other than that, not many people remember me. And that's the problem I'm having with Edinburgh. The people who do well at Edinburgh, they come year after year.
Yes.
And the last time I was here was 26 years ago, and I find once every quarter of a century doesn't really... the continuum isn't the same.
You've lost a bit of momentum.
I did, just a little bit. In the middle of it. So I say, my opening line in my show is, I say, 26 years ago, my show was called Memoirs of a Yank Doing Rope Tricks, and I shouldn't really do the rope trick in this show, but screw it, everybody who saw that show's dead.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about remembering it from before.
Yeah.
How has this show come about? So the show is Loud and Louder, and it's you and your niece?
Yeah.
How has this happened?
Well, my niece came over and stayed with me, and she has a degree in theater. And then she went and did this master's degree in physical theater. Lecoq, do you know about Lecoq?
I do not.
Okay, it's a French movement physical theater thing. And then, but she's a funny girl. And I said, you're funny enough to do the circuit. And anyway, I taught her a chain escape. I taught her well, it's actually that guy's routine. Have you ever seen it, the jacket escape? Have you ever seen that?
I've not seen this.
Oh, this American guy put out a DVD, and it was great, where you say, Houdini got out of a straitjacket, and said, I'm going to get out of my jacket.
Right, okay.
And it's just an electronic release thing. But anyway, she did great, and she started doing the circuit, and now she's got a bunch of. Well, she started doing magic because she wanted to do for Lecoq, for this physical theater thing. She wanted to do a clown piece where she sawed herself in half, and so that kind of got her into the magic. And now she's great, and she's doing really well on the circuit. And she said, "Why don't we do Edinburgh together?" And I went, "Okay," forgetting that 26 years ago I swore I'd never do it again. And as soon as I got here, I remembered vividly why I would never do it again.
This is why I love you, John Lenahan, because you are going to tell us the truth, and you are going to tell us that you are not having a great time here, are you, in terms of the way sort of the show's going a little bit?
No, it's flippin' exhausting. I mean, I'm doing fine, but you physically have to get every person into your audience. So I'm just going around all day long today, all day long every day, just meeting people and doing tricks for them on the street, and then begging them to come to my show. And we're doing fine. We've got a good audiences, but you got to put 4 hours of solid magic into getting someone into your 1 hour magic show.
Yeah. And you're at Just the Tonic, the Caves.
The Caves.
Which I think is known as a bit of a tough venue, actually.
Yeah, I'm finding it to be a tough venue. And I mean, the old days I was here. We were in the Pleasance now, and that was.
Yeah, we're sat right now in the Pleasance Dome.
And I did a TV show, but still, even then, it was hard work. I remember in those days there was only 3 reviews, and the last one was The List. And it also the festival went into September. So the last week was really tough.
Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. It went in September.
And then we all complained, and then we all...
Well, everyone's gone back to work and school in September.
I know, it was madness, and that's why they stopped it.
Right, I see.
So it used to be like the middle of August to the first week of September, so now it's like all of August. Because the acts that had the clout said, I'm not doing that last week, and then, so finally they moved the whole thing. So, but that last week, it was really important to get a good review, and in those days there was only 3. There was the Scotsman, I guess it was Time Out was the other one, I can't remember. And then The List was a biggie. And The List came to see me, and they were going to print me a review for the last week, which is great, I needed it. I never got a good review in the Scotsman. And the guy came out of the show and said, oh, great show, I'll give you a great review. And then the day before The List came out, he came back to my show and said, they screwed up. They didn't print it, but here it is. And he handed me his typed copy of the review. And it was the best review I've ever had, and only me and my mother saw it.
Oh, that's what a shame.
I told The List this year, I said, you guys owe me a review, and they agreed they did, but they didn't show up. I mean, and that's the other thing too, it's weird now. It used to be that the Scotsman would review every show in the Fringe. And now, on the, they have that press thing at the beginning of the festival, I went to that, and the Scotsmen are going, all of our reviews are booked, no one talked to us. I mean, it's weird.
Right, yeah.
That's the thing, the madness is the same, but there's just more of it. And it's exhausting. And it's all right. I mean, in the old days it was exhausting, and then you drank yourself to death, and so you came back dead. And now I'm not drinking like a lunatic, but I'm old, so the effects are the same. I mean, the other weird thing is that I really am bleeding here.
This weird accident just happened that, well, it was a bit stupid.
It was stupid, actually.
You stirred your
I
coffee.
stirred my coffee with a pair of scissors I had in my pocket, and then I licked the scissors and I cut my lip.
This is the first time I've interviewed a guest who's bleeding.
Yeah, but you've been bleeding on stage in your day. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I did that recently.
It's really a nightmare, especially when you're doing close-up and you're bleeding, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, I did it when, in April, we were up here actually doing some shows, and I cut myself on an illusion on a piece of steel, and I realised I had 25 minutes to go, and I was bleeding everywhere, all over the props. I needed cleaning afterwards and everything. Hey, by the way, thanks for the bottle of water, by the way.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
You don't know this, but Piff The Magic Dragon,
yes,
we fell out over a bottle of water on this podcast. So it shows that you're a good guy, John Lenahan.
I saw Piff the other day. He seems to be doing well. He's doing great, actually.
I saw his show last night. It was actually really good.
I bet.
Really good.
I bet. He's my hero for when he pulled a sandwich out of his pocket and started eating while the judges were voting on him at America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. You're my hero forever for that. But anyway, the weird thing about this festival, so I decided I wanted... What I tried to do for this festival, and I just didn't get it organized, was to find a small room. I've got these stools of different heights so that I can have like a little tiered theater myself for like 25 people for a table, a card table magic show. And I wanted to find a room and take it for the whole day.
The whole day?
Well, the whole festival. For the whole festival, for the whole day. So I wouldn't have to move my chairs, basically. And I would just call it the Magic Room. And I'd get like 8 magicians, and then we'd all just do close-up magic all day.
Oh, amazing.
And the Magic Circle wanted to sponsor it.
Oh, wow.
And I haven't been up here in a long time, and I didn't have any connections, like once every 26 years. And
they're all dead.
Yeah, exactly. It's true, actually. That's not even a joke. And so I didn't get around to doing it. But I did. My producer found this room, and it's the Wee Room at the Free Sisters. And it's the smallest room at Edinburgh. And it really is. I'm convinced it's a broom cupboard. and the bar is the Three Sisters, and it's like a rave every night. It's like my show's on at 10:15, and it takes me 10 extra minutes to elbow through people to get into the venue. That's how crazy it is.
Oh my goodness!
And there's a lot of people who are like fans of mine who are like my age or older. I have to apologize when I finally get in. They're like, "What the hell is going on?"
I saw you on a P&O cruise ship.
Yeah, exactly. But that show. And it seats like 18. And that show I've done no PR for at all. And it's sold out every night.
So this is why you're exhausted. You're doing 2 shows up here.
Yeah.
Which one are you enjoying more? You can be honest.
Oh, no. Loud and Louder.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really fun. I mean, I think some of it... I think the fact that it's my niece doing the show, I think that actually puts people off. It's kind of like a... it's kind of like, those acts that have like their sisters, their lovely assistants. You know what I mean?
Almost like they wouldn't take it seriously.
Yeah, and I think that has something to do with just the perception of it. And we won't do it again. I mean, it was just kind of a fun thing to put together for this. But I've been doing this for a living for 40 years, and I've never really shared a stage before.
It's horrible, isn't it?
I'm enjoying it, but I'm actually, as I say, I'll be fine when it's over as well. And that's why this show, and you saw it. You didn't see A Good Night. We've had about 2 really bad nights, and you saw one of them. And this show, the basis of it, the magic, because initially I said, okay, well it'll just be me, you, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll have a couple links together. And so the magic, my bits and her bits were fine, but it was the meshing back and forth, and that was really rough, and it took me a while. But we're actually really having fun now while we're on stage. We're mucking around. Yeah. We're some lines are locking in, and
that's how our double act started.
That's
literally,
right.
We did a show where it was just I'll do a bit, you do a bit, and then we did a few things together, and then people said, "Oh, we liked it when you were on stage together."
Yeah.
And I said, actually, I got to pay you a compliment, and that is that So I've probably seen like 25 shows up here. So I've visited twice. You've got my favourite line. In Loud and Louder, which is, and I'm gonna butcher it, so maybe you deliver it, but it's when you say you've taught her a classic of magic and she will now perform it. What's the line? I just
said Claire will now perform a classic of magic that I taught her, and she has completely ruined.
It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. I really like that line. No. And she didn't ruin it, actually. She's good. She's
good. She's great. The thing is, I get lots of middle-aged people, and she's more in your face than any human being can be. And when we get a room full of young people, she steals the show, like completely takes it away from me. And but we're, as our audiences go, we're not meshing, But saying that, I don't want to moan all the time, because that's the thing about Edinburgh. I mean, actually, here's the truth about Edinburgh: is that it's a great experience, and it's worth doing. But you don't make money, and you often lose money, and but it grinds you down. Like it's more work than you've ever done in your entire life, unless you dig ditches for a living, and then indignities happen, and you get tired, and then they weigh on you, and then
you see it up here.
That's this story I was telling you about the list not printing my thing. This was back when I had a successful show back then, and I cried.
Yeah, no, I can believe it.
Because it takes every ounce of work out of you.
It's all the logistics as well, getting things up here, finding somewhere to stay.
And a 5-minute get in and a 5-minute get out when you have an illusion.
Yeah, you have. Actually, this is a great bit of your show. How long does she spend in that fire cage?
Ages.
She's in there a long time.
Yeah,
as the audience come in, she's in there.
Yeah,
and then you do like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
She's
in there the whole time.
That was brilliant.
That's
Also, I've got to hand it to her. It's incredibly still, that fire cage. There's nothing. I knew she was in it.
Actually,
I'm thinking there's no movement at all.
Actually, she. I do my rope routine while she's in there, and I did a new line in my rope routine the other day, and I heard her laughing. I was tempted to turn around and go, "Shut up!" But I didn't. I was being very professional.
I've seen this up here. I've been coming up here for years, and most people have a great time, but sometimes people have difficult years up here, and you see it's really tough.
Yeah.
To get through it. It's a long month.
And, there's that old showbiz joke. I was tempted to use it in the show. You do Edinburgh twice in your career, once on your way up and once on your way down, and it's great to be back. You know what? If I would come back and do that close-up room, I think.
Would you?
I think I would. I mean, the other thing too is just the amount of work I'm losing on the ships in August.
Well, yeah, you've just got to.
And that's the thing. So you get a couple grand for being on a ship, and then everything you buy is like, and someone offers you it, and you say no, and then that's in your head, and then when you buy a cup of coffee, this coffee isn't $2.50, this is $2,250.
That's right. So you are working on the ships still at the moment? Are you still enjoying the ships and stuff?
Oh, I love the ships.
Are you doing more than ever before, or less, or?
No, I'm pretty steady. I mean, I'm about 100 days a year at sea. So, and in the summer, it's great. I mean, that's the other thing. The ships, the problem with the ships isn't the ships. The ships are great. Is the flying.
And they send you on horrible journeys, don't they?
But the thing is, in the summer, it's great because it's the Med.
Yeah.
So you're just an hour or two and stuff. My guys that organize my stuff are pretty good about horrible journeys, but they're just long. I mean, when you fly to South America, it's a long trip, and that's in the winter. It's South America, it's Asia. Nobody feels sorry for you when you say, "Oh, these winters in the Caribbean are such a drag." But in fact, you're flying to the Caribbean 8 times. You're flying back and forth to the Caribbean, maybe 10-hour flights 8 times a month, and it just takes you out.
Yeah.
And I get offers to do Australia for a week, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm not doing Australia for a week. I'm not flying. 50 hours total for 5 days in Australia. That's just madness.
I remember. Sorry, something I meant to say when we were talking earlier.
If I faint due to blood loss.
I mean, there's a lot of blood
There is
loss
a lot
here.
of
And
blood.
you're a trooper just carrying on with the interview. True professional.
Can you see it though?
You look like a madman. Yeah.
I look like the Joker. Right?
There's blood all in your beard and all over your teeth. It's like, I hope no one comes along right now.
I have to go flyer to people. Here, come to my show or I'll spit on you. Okay, great.
What was I going to say? Yeah, so you said you were up here like 25 plus years ago.
6.
Have you visited in that time?
I only came up once.
How's it changed? I've only been coming 10 years, so how's it changed in 20?
No, it's exactly the same, but
really?
it's just bigger. There's more, and then the Free Fringe is a sea change, which is what I would do again if I did it. I mean, and that's what I'm doing for my close-up show, and it's great. You know, I haven't, and you know, a lot of it's about time. I mean, I've since figured out that 7:30 is actually a bad time. You're competing against meals, but you're also competing against the big shows that start at 8.
Yes.
And so, but once again, it's a live and learn. You got to do it to not do it the next year. Nobody's going to tell you.
No, you learn every year. We did the.
It's
Free
like working
Fringe.
ships.
Yeah, we did the Free Fringe 4 years, and we had 3 p.m. shows the first 2 years, and then we had a 6:30 slot. That's actually a good slot. People come and see it, and then they'll go and get dinner afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you get to 7:30, 8 o'clock, you better be good, or have a name value or something, because you're competing with all the main shows sort of thing.
So that was that's kind of interesting. But no, I mean, I came up about 5 years ago. A friend of mine from America. There's stuff going on at the festival that you don't even know about. Do you know there's an American high school theater festival within the Fringe?
I did not know this.
I know. So there's a venue. It's a huge, great big venue. It's a school, I think, and it's taken over and it's all American high school drama things, and you have to apply for it, and then the kids raise money, and then they go, and it's all high school drama kids. And I have a friend who's a high school drama teacher in America, and she was up, a good friend, and so I went to see her, and that was the only time I'd ever been up here. And that was about 5 years ago. And I did have a walk. That's what happened. I did have a kind of a sitting in shows going, kind of should be me up there.
Yeah. Well, I've had that feeling this year. When you come up, you go, I should be doing something. Because what is the alternative in August? If you don't work ships, I'll tell you what it is, weddings on Fridays and Saturdays. Awful.
See, I've never done a wedding.
Oh, well,
I don't do
you're
weddings.
a lucky man.
I refuse to. I don't do weddings, and I do.
Do you any
I don't do
close-up
weddings
stuff at all?
or bar mitzvahs.
I do. I've already said this on this podcast. No boats down the Thames.
Oh, I've done that.
Awful.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
They leave at 6:30. They get
Oh
back
no,
at 11.
it's a nightmare.
There's nowhere to hide.
And there's no place to hide. I remember once being on a ship and going up and doing a stage show on one of these booze cruises, and just dying on my ass. And then I was thinking, how bad would it be to swim off this boat? And then I went up to sat with the pilot, and I said, hey, can I sit with you? And he just went F off. And it was so miserable. Oh yeah, no, I stopped doing them as well. I do a close-up show. I love doing a close-up show. And saying that, I'm walking around. That's my promotion for the show.
You walk around just doing tricks and chatting to people.
Well, I do the Chicago opener. Have you seen my opener?
I've not seen.
Have my what I do?
You do know this is a podcast. If you're going to show me a trick, though, they're not going to know what's going on.
Yeah, well, big card.
All right, okay. No one's ever done a trick on the Magician's podcast.
Oh yeah,
before.
there you go.
Do you believe that?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a card.
Jab it in.
Okay.
All right. And when I go back to the deck, one card turns red. And look, it's got the name of my show on the card.
Very good. What was your
And then
card?
I go, was it your card?
Yes,
your card?
that was my card.
And then I go to I put that 8 of clubs down, and I go to the next person. What is your card? Say stop. I say stop. Oh, look, 9 of clubs. And then I can't find it, and then, it's here.
Great.
Everyone goes up, and then I give them this card.
This is good.
And I'm doing that. I'll tell you how many times I'm doing it. So
how many cards have you printed, right? So you know how many times you've been doing it.
Well, they're stickers.
Oh, there's stickers on the card.
But I'll tell you how many. I know exactly how many times I'm doing it, because I do that stupid gag where when someone picks a card, I say 4 diamonds, right? And they say no, and I say okay. Every once in a while, I got that right? And I'm hitting it twice a day, so I must be doing it. I must be doing it like 100 times a day.
Oh my goodness!
And after this festival's over, I'm not doing the Chicago opener ever
so that
again.
means you have been doing that trick 2,500 times.
Maybe.
Oh my goodness, man.
Yeah.
What sort of promotion have you? Is this the only promotion you've been doing? You got flyers on the street?
We got flyers. We got the.
What would you do
talk about
if you did come back next year? What would you do different? I know you're saying you're not going to come back, but
well, I said if I got the magic. If I could run the magic room.
We need to make this happen. Like you said, if the Magic Circle are happy to do it.
Yeah.
A magic room at the Edinburgh Fringe.
That'd
be great.
I put some feelers out this year on the Magic Circle website. I said, would anybody be up for this? And
well, you're talking right now to about 2,000 or 3,000 magicians. So there you go. You've heard it. If you're interested in doing it next year,
10 guys just went, I'm in. And it'd be nice if the room was all laid out and you just walked in, sat down, and you pass a hat at the end. I mean, it'd be nice if it was free fringe. I mean, with my, and I'll talk money too. With my
oh yes, see, this is why you're a great guest.
With my little close-up show, which I said I only did because I'm there and I like doing it.
It's got 18 seats, you said.
About, yeah.
Yeah.
And I sell my John Teaches Magic DVD, but yes. I'm making 50 quid a night in that room.
Okay, that's
right.
Great. Yeah.
And it doesn't cost. Well, I mean, saying it's free, it does cost something. You have to put your name in the program, and then I paid extra to be in the free fringe program. I can't even remember what it cost to do all that. And then I had flyers made, which I would do, and then we would do for the close-up room. So anybody who was in the room would actually then have to put some money in for a collective PR.
Yes.
But I think it's a great idea. And then,
Also, you're probably pretty good at the bottling speech, considering you used to be a street performer, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually getting. I did a show the other night. There's a bunch of youngsters in. There was like 5, and none of them gave me any money on the way out. And so now, in the queue, I go, look, I know it's a free fringe, but if you don't have any folding money, don't come in. I say, look, it's free, so you don't have to pay me, but you gotta have it, because this is a shit hot show, and I've been working on it for 40 years.
You wouldn't know this, but some of the free fringe shows now, they take card payment. Can you believe that?
Well, yeah, I was offered it, but on my venue, but it only worked on Apple, and I have a Android, but maybe next year.
I've been asking everybody the same 2 questions, one of which with your other show, Loud and Louder. Are you making money or losing money?
I think we'll break even.
Break even?
Yeah.
Brilliant. And why?
Actually, saying that, I splashed out on digs.
Oh, you're staying somewhere nice, are you?
Yeah, and I got an apartment all to myself.
Wow.
And so I'm taking that out of the equation.
Yeah, you've lost money.
Yeah, but I'm old and I have money, and I thought, screw it, I'm not sharing a room with a bunch of idiots, and so that's kind of. I mean, I'm just gonna say in my thing, it's I just like give me 400 quid, but I paid a lot more for my digs, but I wanted them, so that's
fair enough.
Fine. And then my niece actually is staying with one of my brother's friends, so. She does not paying for digs, so yeah. No, we'll break even on that, and then I'm making money on the free fringe. But I mean, I don't know what I'm making. I just put it in my pocket and then I spend it on pizza.
Oh, you've forgotten you owe Scott Penrose money for hiring the fire cage as well.
I do have to pay Scott Penrose for the fire cage. Yes, indeed.
Brilliant, John. This has been great. Always great catching up with you. Thank you for your honesty. It's been brilliant, and I hope you enjoyed the last. Wait, you got 3 days left?
No, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 4 days left.
Bank holiday weekend coming up.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy the last weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. If being successful at the Fringe is all about building momentum, no one has persisted more than Pete Firman, who is currently here enjoying his 11th year at the Fringe with his show Marvels. I had breakfast with him. This is what happened. So I'm having breakfast with Pete Firman. Hello, Pete.
Hello, mate.
Nice to see you.
Likewise.
Thanks for doing this.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate it. So I've been coming to see you here at the Fringe for, my goodness, I think 2008 was the first time I came. I think you started 2007.
Yep.
You did? There we go. Literally, breakfast and drinks are
on the way.
Arriving.
Yeah, no, we meant it. You're not right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. So I've been coming up here to see you since about 2008. This is your 11th year.
Yeah.
How have you done that, first of all? That's what everyone wants. How do you find the motivation to every year come back with a new show?
I think I probably said this to you before on the last time we spoke. I enjoy it. I enjoy coming up with a show. I enjoy working on new material. I get bored of material quite quickly, and I just like the challenge of that blank piece of paper, and it gives me a bit of focus. And I do things with the show afterwards. I take it places, I might tour it, so I just, just as a model, it just works for me.
Yeah.
How
is it going this year?
It's going great.
Is it going well?
I had a year off last year, so I did 10 on the trot, took it last year off, had a summer, sat in my garden. I moved house at the beginning of last year, so we were doing stuff around the house and all that, so that was nice, and I just recharged, and I missed it. You were just saying that you miss it when you're not here. I miss not being here, it just gave me a bit of time to sort of, I felt like I was drying up a little bit. The 2016 show was a best of, so it was a lot easier to get it together. But the year off, I kind of felt like I had enough stuff to come back, so I did. That's it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard rumours that you were missing it when you were up here. Was it an immediate thing last August? I'm definitely going back next year, or?
Not really. I mean, I had a few other things on last year that kept me busy. So I don't know really. It's I knew that I was going to tour this year, so part of coming up was like running in the show, ready for the tour. I'm going to tour in the autumn and then doing another bit of touring in 2019. So, it's great to bed the show in here. So that was another reason for coming up. But yeah, I mean, I really missed it.
Was there any worry that you might? I mean, you've got a great room and an amazing slot in one of the major 4 venues. Was there any concern when you decided after 10 years that you might lose that slot or not be able to get it back, because you've gone straight back into your old room? So
yeah, no, I've got a good reputation, a good relationship with the Pleasance and the promoter that I'm with. It was always sort of the plan to come back. So yeah, that wasn't a problem really.
Yeah. Do you think now that you've had that year off and you realise that you missed it, do you think now the next year off for Pete Firman's a long way in the future?
I don't know really, because it was missing it and the tour. So I mean, it seems that I'm touring every other year. So I don't know whether I'll do that with the Fringe as well. That might become part of the plan. 10 years on the trot was hard. It was a long slog. So yeah, I don't know if I'm settled in for another 10-year run. I don't know. It's a lot of tricks, man.
Yeah, no,
it's a lot of stuff.
I'm also interested. You said you missed it. I heard you missed it. When did you start to miss it? Was it during when you normally start doing your previews and through the early part of the summer? You're really probably working towards that deadline, or just was it when the Fringe started that you realised you missed it?
Well, the truth of the matter is, I was going to be here last year.
Oh.
The truth is, it was all booked in at the tail end of 2016, and then I moved house. Some stuff came in, a few telly things. I did a thing for Comic Relief, and I did a couple of other things that took up quite a bit of my time, and my heart sort of wasn't in it for that year. I was tired. The 10 years had knackered me a little bit, so I think in January I spoke to my agent and I said, I'm having second thoughts, and that's not you know what the Edinburgh thing is like.
You can't half-arse it.
You can't half-arse it. So I just, with plenty of time, I said to them, look guys, I'm not gonna do it this year. And obviously nothing, the brochure hadn't been out, but my name was on the room and at the time and all the rest of it. So I just pulled out, and yeah, that's and then missing it started when the festival started, because I'm on the Twitter and all my friends are like, blah blah blah. They're not saying, I'm having a great time, but it's like, come and see my show and this great review, and you sort of get when you're online, you slightly inhabit that world.
Yes.
It's sort of.
Well, it feels like the centre of the universe, doesn't it? If you're
it feels like that when you're here. Yeah. It strangely. I was in touch with a friend who was up here, and it's weird. Like, it's not even happening as far as the rest of the world is concerned.
Crazy,
do you know what I mean? But you sort of live it through their tweets, etc. So yeah, I was missing it at that point. I must say though, it was nice to be in the garden with a bit of sun, a couple of beers on the go. That was quite nice.
So then you've obviously come back this year.
Yeah.
So when was that booked in? Did you venture ready to come back this year? When was that decision made?
I think that I think I knew I was going to come, but I think the reality of when things get booked in is like December. Because I want that room and that time, you see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sort of said, make sure we've got it penciled.
I was going to ask you about that. If I can be so brash as to ask something.
Be brash, Richard.
Well, you have had the same room, and it's a beautiful room and a beautiful slot. But people do look at Edinburgh's progress. There's Colin Cloud, amazing. He's in an 850-seat room this year.
Absolutely.
Doing amazing business, I understand. Do you think that room is perfect for your show, or have you wanted to progress to a bigger room or a different venue? I'm sure you must look at it.
I think that room is the second largest room at the Courtyard after the Grand, and you've seen my stuff, and I'm not doing huge scale tricks, so I think anything larger, some of the stuff this year is a bit touch and go. I've got a camera, and that helps make sure everybody can see. I think much larger might be a slight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Much larger might be a slight struggle.
Okay.
In terms of seeing the material, and I like knowing that I'm comfy in that room. Do you know what I mean? I know how to play it. I know that I'm going to sell tickets. If I had to sell near on 1,000 tickets, I don't think I'd sleep at night. 1,000 tickets over 26 nights. I mean, fair play to anyone that can do it, absolutely. But I think that's tough in the marketplace up here at the moment.
I find that really interesting, but every time I've been to see you, you're full. So surely, from your point of view, career progression, is it not kind of an idea to go into a bigger room and bring in more people?
Well, I think that it's nice to be full. There's something that comedians have done that I don't quite think magicians have cottoned onto yet. A comedian, even a well-known one that might have done quite a lot of telly, will more often than not take a smaller room than they ought to, because what that does is it means that they sell out the run very often before the Fringe starts. I have a friend that did that, so immediately people that haven't pre-booked might want to see that person, they can't get a ticket, and that creates a buzz and a demand, and that person puts on extra shows, and you've seen what they do on the boards, sold out, extra shows added. It just looks good,
right?
From a sort of a punter perception, industry perception, it looks good. So I think sort of like underestimating your ticket sales is perhaps a good thing, really.
Yeah. Every year you bring up a brand new show, and it's incredible. I just wondered, you're talking about the way the industry views things.
Yeah.
With reviews.
Yeah.
One of the criticisms that does get thrown at you sometimes, and indeed it gets thrown at most magic shows up here at some point or another, is a reviewer will write, "Oh yeah, we've seen the tricks before.
Yeah.
Familiar tricks." It drives me crazy. Does it drive you crazy?
Well, like I said to you before we started, I don't read reviews. I'm not that bothered. I suppose it is frustrating, but I mean, the thing is, everyone's an expert, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? We've all had, as magicians, that experience of approaching. Certainly, when I was doing walk around, approaching a group of people with a pack of cards and them saying, "Oh, I've seen that one before."
Yes.
The multitude of card tricks. So how can we expect anyone to sort of know the wrinkles that you put on stuff, the different presentational tweaks that you might put on it? I think it just comes with the territory.
Sure.
Do you know? I just think it's one of those things, and to beat yourself up about it or get upset about it's pointless, really.
I love one of the things I love, and I found out years ago about you, was the people you were using that help you. I find Have you worked with Neil Austin and Jeffrey Durham on this year's show? Yeah, I always work with them. I always work with my friends, and Neil and Jeffrey in particular. Yeah, it's just nice to it's difficult to do it all on your own. You need an outside eye. You need someone to say, that's not quite working, or a directorial eye. Anyone that's thinking about doing a solo show, be it at the Fringe, elsewhere, whatever, get someone in to have a look at it. Just someone that you trust, someone that you respect, and it just helps you sort of. You can get bogged down in an individual trick. It's a show after all. You know what I mean? And that's what you're trying to do. We're trying to do a show.
So yeah, I think that's quite important, that collaboration.
Have you ever thought about doing anything radically different? I mean, I've seen some really radically different shows this year.
Yeah.
Not even necessarily magic shows. Have you ever thought about doing anything sort of completely out of left field? Because your show, the format of your show is, tricks and gags and everything.
I think it's sort of. I think once you find a style that works for you, I guess you stick with it. You're not going to. Tim Vine's not going to come up and start doing observational material and talking about his girlfriend or, some sort of, long rambling story arc. It's just like gag, and that's why people are going to see Tim. So I don't really know. I wouldn't know how to do that. So I just do what I do.
It's been a couple of years since we last spoke, and
how long has it been?
I think it's like 2 years.
2
yeah,
years.
Maybe longer.
Maybe longer.
Might even be 3 actually. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was the TV show Next Great Magician.
Yep.
So you got right the way to the final. Well, I actually heard afterwards you almost won the whole thing.
It was a close call.
Can you tell us? I mean, it's a long time ago now. Can you tell us a bit about what happened in the judging room at the end? Because I think that was.
Well, you were there. You know what happened. You know how it happened.
I wasn't in the final one.
Oh no!
Yeah.
But you know the dynamic of the thing,
the
and
voting and everything. But I just wondered, because you were in the room for the final when there was a TV special on the line.
Yeah, what happened to that TV special?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I feel sorry for Barry Stewart, but I just wondered, with that prize at stake and you were in that room, I think everyone found that part of the show a bit frustrating that we didn't get to see what happened.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a bit about what happened in that room at the end?
It was the same as it was in every other episode. Each magician left the room, and I think there was like a chat, and then Andrew went round and got a score from everyone. That sort of happened. As I recall, me and the boys tied on our scores. So then we both left the room, and then I think this is right. And then they decided that the boys were going to win, and I wasn't. So yeah, that's it. That's the story. Yeah, we weren't. I mean, it was a funny show. It was a great show in many ways. I sort of said to Andrew when we were filming it, it's like the Best of Magic, except you can't make the Best of Magic. No TV commissioner wants to make the Best of Magic. You need to have this jeopardy, this competitive element. So but I think that was handled by Andrew and the team quite sympathetically, and I think because he cares. Also, I think that he probably got more magicians to do it because of the way that the judging was done, rather than an audience vote or a phone-in vote or whatever. Did you enjoy it?
Not
Did
really.
you enjoy being on it?
I enjoyed working on it.
Yeah.
I think the final product of what we did, I thought, was probably the worst thing we've ever done.
Right, okay.
Working with the dog, it was so restrictive.
Yeah,
so
right.
We couldn't. There was just so much we couldn't do.
Yeah.
And the original ideas that we had, that we were hopefully going to get the dog to do. The dog probably earned more money than anyone. Any of the performers I showed. That dog was about 500 quid a day.
Really?
And I think the dog did like 3 weeks or something. So, but actually it was pretty much just a normal dog. It didn't do a lot. So, no, it was awful, really, from our point of view. How was it for you? You got to do your acts, right?
I didn't want to do it. The truth is, and I'm sure Andrew won't mind me saying, I didn't want to do it. But we had a long chat, and he said, just do what you do. That was the reason. I think if I'd have been sort of strong-armed to do something that I didn't want to do, I definitely wouldn't have done it. But I mean, he knew my material, and we talked about what I might do, and he was happy for me to do that, and I was happy to. It's nice to document your stuff. It's nice to have those routines kind of out there, especially because the two that I ended up doing were like mainstays of my show. They were well routined, so it was nice to put them out there. But I wasn't sure at first. I took a bit of convincing.
You're a great spot actor. I mean, you looked at your show reel this morning. You've done so many great shows like John Bishop and Sarah Morgan. Do you enjoy doing those kind of things? Or they're a bit challenging, aren't they? You're never sure how much time you're going to get, and when you're on a show like that, it's often it's that person's show, so you've got to make them look good as well.
Yeah, it's not challenging actually. I've been very lucky. I mean, sometimes you've got to write a routine. Like, for example, when I did tonight at the London Palladium last year, we looked through all the material. I presented material that I wanted to do, and they wanted something really big. That sometimes TV people can be a little bit short-sighted, and they say, we want big. Well, anything's big on telly. There's that famous thing, isn't there, about Daniels, Lance Burton realising that Paul producing a mouse from a matchbox was as big as Lance producing a tiger from a cage on telly. It's got cameras, Yeah. So there's this thing, but there's, I get that. So basically, the exec producer had seen me do a thing on The Magician, so I kind of reworked that and came up with a different thing. So that's hard. Turning up and doing your stuff is not hard, and it's great actually. And there are fewer and fewer TV shows to do that on. It's much harder to crowbar your act into like a panel show situation or a interview situation. That's really difficult.
I was going to say, have you ever been offered panel shows, or have you ever asked your management to kind of look for that kind of thing for you? I think you'd be good on it.
I've done a couple of them. The thing is, I guess with panel shows is, you've seen the sort of format that they go for. They've got team captain, and then sort of, non-comedic celebrity reality star, and then a comedian. That's often the three-person dynamic on a panel show. And when they're looking for that comedian, that they've got the pick of every comedian in the country. So a comedy magician's like a sort of a bit of a sidestep for them, and I think sometimes they only sort of see you in that compartment. So I've done a couple. It'd be nice to do a few more, but I don't think they're easy. I've got comic friends that, for example, Mock the Week. I don't think so much now, but in the early days it was like hard to get a word in edgeways, I think. Because everyone wants to get their funny out,
course,
it's quite competitive.
Do you, at this stage of your career, do you have like a 2-year plan, 5-year plan? Are you just, you're living the dream really, aren't you? You've got your own show, you're touring, you're up in one of the best rooms in Edinburgh. Are you really at a point where you just want to continue this, or have you still got some additional things you want to achieve? I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. I don't have a 2-year plan. I should have a 2-year plan. I've got a couple of telly things that I'm working on after the Fringe, but not like just like bits in stuff. I'm very, I'm doing. I did a pantomime for the first time last year. How was that in Bromley?
I was in Bromley. Yeah, it was great. It was.
I know the theatre in Bromley. It's basically it's attached to a rock face, basically, isn't it? You go up and down a lot of steps all the time.
That's right. Yeah. It's right on the high street, and it was. That was sort of, because I knew quite far ahead that I had that coming up. So that was another reason for, not being so bound to perhaps doing Edinburgh. It was something that was a bit different that sort of replaced that for me last year. That was fun. I'm doing another one this year. Very excited about. It's in a sort of a slightly nicer theatre, a bigger theatre. So that's a new thing for me. So,
I always assumed you were a bit. I know you're in demand on the corporate circuit. I always assumed actually December would be a big month for you. There, so I was quite surprised when I saw you were doing panto.
Well, it's I don't know if you go to many pantos or sort of their venues make their money, theatres make their money on pantomimes, so they're quite a big. I fancied it. My agent had to tell me a little bit more about it, mainly the fee. Yeah. But they're big. They're big. There's a pantomime at the London Palladium, and they're big, lavish productions. They're not, for anyone that hasn't been to a pantomime for a while, I would encourage them to go, because they're big deals. This one I'm doing this year is at the New Wimbledon Theatre, which is a big. I think it's an 1800 seater. I'm on with Paul Merton, huge comedy star, and it's going to be a big production. So yeah, I don't mind not doing a few corporates instead of that.
Well, may I be so bold as to ask, is it more lucrative than a month of corporate in December?
I wouldn't tell you that, Richard, but I'm doing the pantomime.
Yeah, I guess that's the answer, isn't it? Yeah, that's brilliant. So I've been asking a few other questions. So just have you seen anything good up here this month?
I haven't seen anything. No, I have seen something. I saw my friend Lloyd Langford do his stand-up show, and I saw Angelos and Barry. But apart from that, I haven't seen anything. That's really bad, isn't it? Because there's so much great stuff. But I'm just up here to do my show. Really, it's not a holiday for me. It's, you know, and I've had lots of friends visiting. I've had family up here, so we've been doing stuff. Where we are at the moment is the area that I'm staying, and you'll notice that it's not very festival-y. There's no posters.
We're out of town here.
Yeah, and that's nice for me. There's lots of stuff to do. You can be self-sufficient out here, and that suits me fine.
Great. So I've been asking 2 questions to everybody.
Yeah.
Question number 1 is, why does Pete Firman do? Is Pete Firman doing the 2018 Edinburgh Fringe Festival? Why do you come up here? Particularly this year, was there an actual reason you came this year?
There's always the reason that it's your living and it's what you do and it's how you earn money. So there's that reason. That's always one of the reasons. This year, I'm doing 30 dates on tour in the autumn. Then I break to do the pantomime, and then I'm doing another 15-20 dates in 2019. So there's nothing like 26 shows to run the new material up to speed. So that was another reason. That's it really. That's it. And I think I said this to you before we started. I think it's important to know what you're trying to do up here, what you're trying to achieve. Michael always said that to me.
Michael Vine.
What you're trying to achieve. And it's
that's quite good.
And it's that's really important, because otherwise you're sort of floundering. What you're worried about people coming to see it. Is that what you want? Do you want people to come and see it? Do you want to get good? You're trying to make money? Do you want to get an agent? Knowing what you want to do is really important, because it can sort of be a little bit of a black hole up here. It can kind of suck you dry.
Yeah. Have you never been tempted to do an ensemble magic show like The Illusionists or something? They must have come knocking at some point, or...
We've had a conversation with them, and we had a conversation with The Impossible Thing, and that didn't work out just because of availability. But I'm not desperate. I've done that thing that you do, the Champions of Magic. When Alex first... And I've known Alex for donkey's years. I used to do comedy gigs for him a long time ago. And when he first had the idea, I did a couple of those Champions of Magic things for him. Just one night, as it wasn't a tour at that stage. And it was fun. It was fun. But I like doing my magic show on my own. I do like the ensemble thing. I mean, even the mixed bill magic shows, you still go on and do your act, and then someone else comes on and does their act. So they're not quite on... I mean, I've not seen the one that you do. I don't know how much stuff you do together. But that's what I really liked about pantomime, is that you're on stage with other people. I'm so used to being on my own. It's quite nice to work and bounce off other people. It's a new thing for me, so that's very exciting.
You sort of allude to it. The other question I've been asking everybody, are you making money or losing money up here?
I wouldn't come up here if I lost any money.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that seems like a pointless exercise to me, unless it's there's a very good reason. I've got all these TV people coming to see me. I've got all these agents because I need to get an agent. I don't have an act. I need an act. I need a cabaret act so I can do corporates. That's a reason to come up here and lose money. It's an investment, but I'm not. That's not my reason for coming up.
Past that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And Pete, it's been great. Thank you so much for talking to me.
It's always
great
nice
to
to
see
talk
you
to you,
again,
Richard.
So pleased you're having a good year up here, and that you're going to be up here for many more years to come.
You never know.
Thanks. And there you have it. If you made it to the end of this nearly 3-hour-long podcast, I am incredibly impressed. Let me know what you thought about it. Get in touch through our social media pages. I put a lot of work into this, and I'd love to know what you thought. Do me a favour though, if you did enjoy it, I also want you to just text a couple of friends right now, a couple of magician friends who have enjoyed the occasional episode. Let them know it's here and on the feed for them to enjoy too. I've been away for a long time, so I need you guys to help spread the word that this episode even exists. I had a great time at the Fringe. If you have never been, you absolutely must get yourself there next year for a few days. If you love live entertainment, it is the best place on the planet during the month of August. Sincere thanks to my guests John Lenahan, Piff The Magic Dragon, Harry de Cruz, Ben Hart, Ben Hanlin, and of course Pete Firman. Congratulations to you all guys on another great Fringe. Hope to see you all again there next year, including you, John Lenahan. I hope the Magic Circle room happens. It sounds absolutely fantastic. I've had such a blast making this podcast that it's got me thinking maybe we should make a new series. Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make you a brand new series of 24 new episodes of the Magicians Podcast. They're going to come to you very soon here on this feed. So make sure you keep in touch with us and you're connected so that you'll know about it as and when it comes along. And you know what? This time, perhaps we should give it a bit more of an international feel. That sounds fun, doesn't it? Enjoy the rest of the summer. We'll be back again very soon, right here on the Magicians Podcast. I'm Richard Young, signing off for now. Bye-bye.